Illinois. What is the process the St. Clair County coroner is going through right now to try to ID the victim? I've got that story coming up.
Opponents of Amendment 4 are speaking out and telling KMOX why they think it's a bad deal for voters. I'm Maria Aquina. I'll explain.
Schnucks has now filed details with the state about its plans to close a distribution center. I'm Michael Calhoun with the latest.
This is AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zayer. Lots of sunshine, heat, and humidity today, but we can't rule out an afternoon thunderstorm, high 95.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. It was such a great sports day with the Open Championship and the World Cup, and then the Cardinals blew a 7-0 lead. We'll have it for you at 6:15.
Celebrating 100 years of informing and entertaining. KMOX AM St. Louis, KMOX FM Hazelwood, the voice of St. Louis.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. This morning in London.
I'm about to visit His Majesty the King to offer my resignation and close the book on my time as Prime Minister.
Keir Starmer outside 10 Downing Street giving way to Andy Burnham, Britain's 7th Prime Minister in a decade. Starmer stepping down after several recent controversies, including the appointment of Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the United States. Mandelson was a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein. U.S. forces carrying out another night of attacks on Iranian targets. This comes after 3 U.S. service members were killed in the last few days. President Trump.
We feel very badly, but those great people, those great patriots were out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
AAA now says the nationwide average for a gallon of gas is back up to $4. Social media influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate due in a Miami courtroom today. They face dozens of new charges in Great Britain. This is ABC News. Chicago got a few days of relief, and then the Canadian wildfire smoke was back on Sunday. ABC's Lizette Nunez in the city.
Our current air quality is down to unhealthy to, in some isolated spots, very unhealthy. And so we do have that wildfire smoke that moved back into the area. It's just not nearly as bad as it was on Thursday. But still, everyone should be limiting their time outside today with that category at unhealthy for all, not just sensitive groups.
And President Trump weighing in on Canada's role in the air quality outside Air Force One.
Have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs.
Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey taking in more than $124 million domestically, nearly $140 million worldwide in its opening weekend. The film cost $250 million to make, so it's already turning a profit. I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
It is 6:02 right now. We've got 72 degrees with mostly clear skies in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the remains of a child were discovered in Illinois. The question is if the victim's age and potential decomposition will jeopardize identifying the child.
St. Louis City Police believe the remains belong to a 2-year-old who was a part of a 2024 parental kidnapping and killed shortly thereafter. Eric Hall, director of forensic science at St. Louis University, says a child that young, possibly decomposing for 2 years, might not be able to be ID'd visually or through fingerprinting, leaving DNA testing as the only option. Hall says depending on the level of decomposition, that could cost time.
They could look at either organs, deep muscle tissue, things like that. If none of those things are present and it's just skeletal remains, then you would look at the bones themselves.
Hall says obtaining DNA from bones could require sending them off to another lab that has the technology to do so. Years ago, different story.
20 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been able to get a DNA profile from this, or, at least definitely 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been able to. So the technology is great, and, it allows us to get these things.
However, he says it is unlikely to jeopardize the likelihood of successfully IDing the victim if they also have the parent's ID. The believed victim's mother and the father, who is in jail on parental kidnapping charges, are alive. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
St. Louis homicide detectives investigating the discovery of other skeletal remains. Authorities reported Sunday night police were called to the 5500 block of Genevieve Friday afternoon around 1:30. The cause of death and the gender of the skeletal remains still not known.
And another child has been shot in St. Louis. City police are investigating the shooting of a 13-year-old. It happened Saturday night after 11. The teen was in a car with his father at Broadway and Walnut in downtown St. Louis when they drove around another vehicle. Words were exchanged between the drivers before the suspect fired multiple shots. The father then returned fire and drove his son to the hospital where he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The dad was not hurt.
Washing the fresh produce under running water, that's going to be helpful. But important to understand that washing alone doesn't get rid of the parasite.
There are thousands of cyclospora cases in at least 34 states. The FDA now says the one sample of Taylor Farms lettuce that had tested positive for the parasite was a false positive, but the recall is still on. Usually by now, the CDC would be able to definitively say what is causing the illness, but that is not the case.
Dr. Katika Kapali, associate professor of Department of Internal Medicine at UT Southwestern, says washing the produce alone does not kill the parasite, but cooking vegetables does. Kapali says one of the challenges in isolating this parasite is funding cuts and not enough people working in public health.
So we don't have the essential resources to try and investigate what's going on. And, at this point, there have been thousands of cases. And so we're trying to investigate a very large outbreak rather than detecting it and addressing it when it first started, where we would have been much more able to prevent it from spreading further.
The symptoms are much like food poisoning or the stomach flu, but it is not the same. If you develop symptoms like explosive diarrhea, contact your healthcare provider because there is a specific test that can determine if you have cyclospora. Maria Kina, KMOX News.
Schnucks has now filed details with the state about its plans to close a distribution center. KMOX's Michael Calhoun.
The WARN Act filing Schnucks submitted to Missouri's Workforce Department does put some job titles on Friday's announcement that the warehouse is closing. Of the 64 jobs being cut at the Bridgeton facility, 57 are warehouse workers and 2 are engineers. Those are represented by Teamsters Local 688. That is the same union that waged a nearly 300-day boycott against Schnucks a decade ago over layoffs at that same building. One manager, one supervisor, one receiving clerk, and 2 inventory clerks round out the cuts. The facility closes March 28th, 2027, and the grocer says that everybody affected will get severance.
Average gas prices in the St. Louis region rose 13.2 cents per gallon in the past week. Prices today are averaging $3.76 according to Gas Buddy. That's about 7 cents lower than a month ago, but 75 cents higher than a year ago. Gas Buddy's head of petroleum analysis, Patrick DeHaan, says prices rose in nearly every state in the last week, and the national average price per gallon is expected to hit $4 again within the next 48 hours.
A majestic steam locomotive pulling into St. Louis Union Station. Big Boy was restored to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad's completion in 2019. But now Big Boy is on a coast-to-coast tour celebrating America's 250th anniversary.
Of the 8 remaining Big Boys in existence, number 4014 is the only one still in operation and serving as Union Pacific's ambassador of the rails. The first of 25 Big Boys were delivered in 1941. If you missed him downtown, he departs Union Station this morning at 9:30 and heads west to Pacific, Missouri, and then on to Herman.
Roger Brand has traffic next at 6:07.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed, your property taxed, everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
You take care of your dog out of love and responsibility.
But what if every scoop that you're feeding them is slowly making them sicker? Not because you're a bad pet owner, but because the pet food industry never told you the truth. Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, Amazon #1 best-selling author and founder of Rough Greens here. Dog food is dead food, stripped of every live nutrient that your dog needs. That's where Rough Greens comes in. Just sprinkle it on top of whatever you're already feeding them. It's packed with live probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, and over 20 live vitamins and minerals, all natural and made in the USA. Thousands of dog owners are watching their pets transform. More energy, shinier coat, better mobility, and your dog could be next. Take the Rough Greens 90-day challenge. Give us 90 days and we'll give you a healthier dog, guaranteed. Get a free Jumpstart trial bag for your dog today. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com. Use discount code USA. That's RUFFgreens.com. Discount code USA. Rough Greens. So good, your dog will ask for it by name.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts.
All right, it's 6:10. This is Total Information AM. Let's get you caught up on traffic and weather, starting with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, there's still no change, Debbie, on northbound 270 in Maryland Heights. The right lane remains shut down northbound 270 just immediately past the Page 364 exit. So you can get off at that exit, no problem. It's the right through lane past that point that remains closed there. Now saying this is a fatality crash, the car that went under the back end of this trash truck. So they may be out there for a while longer doing the investigation work. Right now, again, volume's light enough. There's barely a slowdown going past it northbound. And I see police on the shoulder, southbound 270 as well, on the right shoulder at that same point. But so far, it's not impacting south 270 drivers either. So a pretty good run through there, all things considered. And that's the only place we have an issue. Like I said, really not causing any serious delays, but that's the only issue out there. The work zone traffic and areas on both sides of the river continues to roll. So it's a pretty quiet start to our Monday with this one minor exception. And like I said, it's really not too impactful so far. Next update is 6:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
Today will be sunny to partly cloudy, hot and humid, and we can't rule out an afternoon thunderstorm. Our high will be 95. Remaining partly cloudy, warm and very humid with a low of 79 tonight, and partly sunny and still hot tomorrow. Any thunderstorm will be during the morning, high 93. The humidity and the heat come down on Wednesday, some sun, high 84. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zaire on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Right now, we have 72 in Florissant, 73 degrees in St. Peter's. Sunny and 73 downtown at the Arch with 87% humidity.
It's 6:12. A man sentenced to life without parole for killing his teenage son showed no remorse at his sentencing Friday. 53-year-old Carl Walker Jr. admits he shot 16-year-old Isaiah Walker in January 2024, left his son lying dead on the side of the road and didn't call police. But he says it was self-defense and then went on to complain to the judge that his lawyer didn't do his job. The judge disagreed. Walker has 5 other children.
The public hearing is set for later today as Manchester considers a proposal some say would change the look and feel of the city's historic district.
Suntrup Automotive Group is seeking permission to redevelop the old schoolhouse on Henry Avenue in an effort to create a new mixed-use facility. If approved, the proposed building will include vehicle repair bays, expanded parking, and retail space, all as part of an effort to use and preserve the century-old building. Local homeowners in the area disagree with the plan, telling the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that it is incompatible with the surrounding historic neighborhood. They're urging city leaders to reject a proposed special use permit. The hearing gets underway this evening at 7 p.m. inside the Manchester Justice Center. City officials will take public comment before making their next move. Ivy Lyons, KMOX News.
As students prepare to head back to school, education leaders are sharing how to best support young learners. The answer, according to Teach for America Missouri's executive director, Julie Gronquist, is just reading together every day.
Just read to your kids every day. Actually sit down and read a book, talk about the pictures, laugh about the funny things that happen. It's such a great chance to bond with your kids. And in the state of Missouri, less than half of our kids are proficient in reading by the end of third grade. And there's so much research about the power of just sitting down and reading with your kids every day.
Gronquist tells MissouriNet technology also has an important place in education, but families and teachers need to balance screen time with FaceTime.
They have grown up with smartphones and tablets in front of them. And many of them are really smart about making choices about when that is a tool and when it's actually a hindrance. And so that's the approach that we take. When is using technology for themselves and for their students going to be a helpful tool? And when is it best to put that away and really lean on in-person interaction and relationships?
The Del Mar Loop has been adding many Asian eateries lately, and this fall, a cafe specializing in matcha drinks opens. Junbi Matcha and Tea will open in the former Rocket Fizz Soda Pop and Candy Shop location. Owner Tony Tron tells the Business Journal he and his wife Jessica want to make matcha approachable, fun, and inviting. They've been doing pop-up events around the region. Matcha is a finely ground powder made from green tea leaves. Rough one for the Cardinals. Let's start there. Yesterday, the Cardinals taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're up 7-0. Andre Palante pitched into the sixth inning. He ended up getting charged with 3 runs. Ryan Stanek 1, George Soriano 2. Here comes Gordon Graceffo trying to rescue the Cardinals. It's a 7-5 game, and the batter with a runner on is former Cardinal Nolan Arenado.
Graceffo trying to get a hold in this game, and he'll get one if he can get Arenado. The pitch is hit high and deep to left field. Backing up is the left fielder, and it's over his head and over the wall. A 2-run home run by Nolan Arenado, and the Diamondbacks have just tied the game here in the 8th inning.
You've got to be kidding me. They're down 7-0. They come back and tie the Cardinals at 7. Luis Gastelum comes into the game in the 9th trying to hold this.
Barossa. The pitch to him, the 2-2 pitch, swing and a miss. He struck him out, and we are going to extra innings.
Gastelum has a nasty changeup, and he strikes out 2 in the frame and ends up sending this one to extras. Bottom of the 10th we go. Gastelum's back out there, but the Diamondbacks put a runner on, and
what will he do here? 2-2. Here comes the pitch, and it's hit hard to right field. Backing up is Nootbaar, and it's over his head. And the winning run is going to score. Nootbaar couldn't make the play, and scoring from second is Barossa. And Arizona wins it 8-7.
What a mess. The Cardinals lost on Saturday, and they get to come back and beaten on Sunday 8-7 by the Diamondbacks. They lose the series. They're on the road this week against the Angels before returning home. They're going to play the Diamondbacks again in a makeup game on Thursday, and then host this weekend. It'll be 20 games in 20 days for the Cardinals coming out of the All-Star break. The World Cup wrapped up yesterday. It took place in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and
with the last chance of the game, he'll lift his ball forward. Simon thought about coming, stays at home. It's knocked down and only finds Ferran Torres. His final touch of the game. He had the decisive touch as well. Spain, for the second time in their history, have won the World Cup.
The call on Fox since 2010. They've been waiting, and Spain wins the FIFA World Cup. They dominated Argentina. Argentina didn't have a shot on goal the entire game, and Lionel Messi and crew drop one after coming back and making things very exciting leading into this game. The best team won. Spain beats Argentina and wins the World Cup. Now let's advance to golf, as that was also a big story yesterday, as one of golf's majors took place at Royal Birkdale. We'll get the latest from KMOX's Dan Reardon.
39 years for Ryan Fox to realize his professional dream and 11 feet to complete it. The New Zealander rolled in an 11-foot birdie putt on the 72nd hole at Royal Birkdale to win the Open Championship and the Claret Jug by 1 stroke over Cameron Young. Fox birdied 4 of his final 6 holes to overcome a 3-stroke deficit on his final 9 and added a 268 to his Saturday 62 for the win at 10 under par. Young posted 9 under with a closing 64 before the third round leaders had even made the turn and waited 2 hours to discover his fate. Third round leader Sam Burns could only post par on his last 12 holes, and his 2 over 72 on Sunday gave him solo third at 8 under. Reporting on the Open, Dan Ridden for KMOX Radio Sports.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports, and she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. After 15 years and over 50,000 cancellations, I can tell you with confidence, we know how to get you out of your timeshare. Call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit guide absolutely free with all your options for cancellation. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-838-6767. 800-838-6767. 800-838-6767.
Now the news at 1 the fun. It's the Dave Glover Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.
6:20 and time for traffic and weather. It's going to be a hot couple of days, but relief on the way. Stay tuned. First, here's Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, no change on northbound 270 so far, Debbie. This traffic reports the service of Steve Butts and the entire Crawford Butts family. The right lane still closed northbound 270 just past the Page 364 exit from, unfortunately, from a fatal crash from earlier this morning. But right lane being closed at this point in time is not creating delays. Traffic's getting by it fine. Southbound drivers, there's a police car on the right shoulder southbound. They're not slowing for a look, so everything's on the move through the area so far. North 270 looks great, beginning down at 55. 55 looks good coming up from Festus. Out west, southbound 61 on to eastbound 64 or 70. No problems coming out of Wentzville and downtown. Starting to see a little bit of a slowdown. They have a new project underway. Westbound 64 at the 70 split. The ramp from westbound 64 to westbound 70 is now closed. I think it's going to be a several month-long closure. So you'll have to take, if you're on 64, you'll have to follow 64 across the Poplar and get on eastbound 44 to westbound 70 from that point. As America celebrates its 250th anniversary, Steve Butts and everyone at Crawford Butts Insurance wish everyone a safe and joyful summer. Proudly serving the community for generations. Happy 250th, America. Next update at 6:30 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
As for the weather, Roger, it's going to be hot and humid. It is July 20th, after all. We're looking at sun and some clouds, hot and humid today. Afternoon thunderstorm can't be ruled out. High of 95, says Heather Zare. Partly cloudy, warm, and very humid tonight, low 79. Tomorrow, partly sunny, hot, and a high of 93. It's 74 in downtown St. Louis.
The news continues at 6:22. No excuse absentee voting for the August 4th primary starts tomorrow. Today at 10 a.m., local election directors will be discussing how it works and where voters can go to take advantage of the shorter lines. That news conference is being held at the St. Louis County election headquarters in St. Anne.
If Amendment 4 passes, we've ended majority rule.
We allow a minority veto of only 5% of Missourians in just one district, whether that's a rural district, an urban district.
That's Benjamin Singer, co-founder of Respect Missouri Voters. It is strongly opposed to Amendment 4.
Amendment 4, if it passes, will change Missouri's constitution permanently.
And it would end majority rule. Amendment 4 would raise the requirement for citizens to pass any amendment to require us to get a majority in every single one of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. So something could get 70% of the vote statewide and still fail because politicians want all the power in their hands, not in the citizens' hands.
Singer says passage of Amendment 4 means in the future it would be nearly impossible to pass any initiatives that hold government accountable.
And that's why we believe the people of Missouri should vote no on Amendment 4.
KMOX asked supporters of Amendment 4 for a comment. They did not return our calls. Maria Kina, KMOX News.
Early voting starts tomorrow in Missouri. Amendment 4 is on the August 4th primary ballot.
Illinois Senator Dick Durbin says the Trump administration has to do something to keep people safer when it comes to environmental issues. He cited the Canadian wildfires, forcing people in Chicago to wear masks.
We are in a public health alert at this moment, the likes of which few have ever seen in their lifetime.
President Trump has said environmental policies should be balanced with national security and recently signed a proclamation granting relief from environmental regulations to some industries.
Speaking to reporters at Joint Base Andrews Sunday night, President Trump doubled down on his threat to impose tariffs on Canada over wildfire smoke.
I have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs.
President Trump returned to Washington after attending the World Cup final in New Jersey.
We see things like increased risk for heart disease, obesity, increased car crashes, worsened depression and suicides.
It's Dr. Karen Johnson, a neurologist, sleep medicine specialist, and co-chair of the Coalition for Permanent Standard Time, reacting to the U.S. House's passage of making daylight saving time permanent.
Overall, there's no more light in the day if we're on daylight savings time. And currently, we do daylight savings time in the summer when the days are already long and we can already enjoy those warm, hot days. But unfortunately, daylight saving time doesn't make winter into summer. Instead, it just makes it a really dark and dreary winter, which again is particularly when daylight savings time is bad for our health.
Johnson tells CNN the U.S. has tried daylight saving time twice before, most recently in 1974, and it did not work either time.
Democrats calling the war in Iran a disaster as Trump administration officials say the U.S. will continue its military operations against Tehran. Over the weekend, 2 U.S. service members were killed and a third reported missing. Sunday, Central Command reported remains of that third soldier may have been recovered.
Missouri Congressman Wesley Bell tells News Nation there has to be checks and balances on President Trump.
We need Republicans on the other side of the aisle to not just do the will and bidding of the president, but serve as a check on the president, because that's the fundamentals of our democracy. With this administration, the lack of transparency has been their calling card.
On Sunday, CENTCOM reported another service member was killed in northern Iraq Saturday during a controlled detonation of an unexpected ordnance from a downed Iranian drone. Bell says President Trump's unauthorized war needs to stop.
Senator Eric Schmidt and Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar are introducing legislation to prevent large search engines from locking out smaller competitors. This bill builds off of a federal court ruling that found Google illegally maintained its search monopoly. Schmidt was part of that case as Missouri's Attorney General. Klobuchar says both the Biden and Trump administrations have agreed on the need for this kind of legislation.
Director Christopher Nolan's highly anticipated version of the classic adventure The Odyssey is finally in theaters. And almost 3,000 years after the story was first written by the Greek poet Homer, it still has a lot of power as it follows an ancient warrior on a treacherous journey.
I have a home somewhere. There's someone out there. I feel. I believe.
It's 6:27. Time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
$8 AC tune-up.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed. Your property taxed. Everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
Most of us are one good deal away from finally replacing that worn-out rug, fixing up the backyard, or getting the bedroom we actually want. Good news, that deal's almost here. Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale. Get up to 80% off area rugs and up to 60% off outdoor and bedroom furniture. Shop Wayfair's huge selection of styles and find the piece to fit your style, budget, and space. Plus, free shipping. Black Friday in July ends July 27th. Shop today at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, it's officially the most wonderful time of the year at Staples. They've got back-to-school supplies as low as 25 cents, up to 40% off select tech, 20% off for teachers, and more. Check out all the deals at staples.com/back-to-school. Staples, that was easy.
It is now 6:30 and the sun is out. We have 73 degrees right now in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. We've been following that crash 270 northbound at Page all morning. Roger Brand, you're in the Overhead Door Company St. Louis Traffic Center.
And it's still no change out there, Tom. And unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, it is a confirmed fatality crash, so the investigation work continues. The right lane remains closed northbound 270 just past the Page 364 exits. You can still get off onto Page or 364 and get to where you need to get to. It's just the right through lane between there and the overpass that's blocked, and traffic's barely slow past it, thankfully. And southbound drivers are not slowing for a look, so it's not impacting really either direction there. Otherwise, the rest of the interstates are quiet, except for on the Illinois side. We have a new ramp restriction. Well, actually, the ramp is closed from westbound 64 onto westbound 70. So you normally take 64 westbound and continue on to 70 to go into downtown. You'll have to go another way. You can go on to 5570 and get on to westbound 70, or you can just stick with 64 across the Poplar and get on to the eastbound 44 westbound 70 ramp downtown through the Arch Grounds. The choice is yours, but the lanes are a little backed up there on westbound 64 at Ball Avenue currently. Next update at 6:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Weather-wise, it's still going to be a couple of hot days before we get some relief. Wednesday is when the cool down starts. So today we're looking at sun and clouds, hot and humid, an afternoon thunderstorm, a possibility. 95 degrees, a thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise partly sunny and hot, 93, but then down to 84 by Wednesday, 80 Thursday, 78 on Friday. It's 73 out there right now.
8 people were injured yesterday in a boat crash on the Merrimack River. It happened around 2 p.m., 2 miles upstream from Campbell Bridge when a boat hit a rock that was underwater and drifted into a bluff, according to the Sullivan Independent News. Out of the 8 injured, 4 of them were children. One of the adults suffered serious injuries. 2 others suffered moderate injuries. The remaining adult and all 4 children only received minor injuries.
How much longer will it take to identify the remains of a child found in the Metro East nearly 2 weeks ago? That depends, according to Eric Hall, director of forensic science at St. Louis University. Police believe the remains belong to a child who was allegedly kidnapped in 2024 at the age of 2 and killed shortly thereafter.
Paul says the age of the victim likely eliminates fingerprint identification, while decomposition could delay DNA test results if the St. Clair County Coroner's Office doesn't have the right technology in-house.
If they feel as though they have the proper technology to do the DNA extraction on, say, bones. So some labs may be more comfortable with that.
However, with both parents of the suspected victim still alive, there is a high likelihood the DNA results will confirm if the remains are their child once it is extracted. The father remains held on a parental kidnapping charge without bond.
A follow-up on Schnuck's move to close one of its support facilities. We get the details from KMOX's Michael Calhoun.
Now we know the breakdown of the 64 jobs that are being cut when Schnuck's closes its Bridgeton warehouse in March. The WARN Act notice filed with the state is out. It shows 57 of those positions are warehouse workers represented by Teamsters Local 688. That is the same union that boycotted Schnuck's stores for nearly 300 days in 2016 over layoffs at that same facility. The remaining positions include supervisors, engineers, and inventory clerks. All employees will receive severance. The closure of the warehouse is permanent and takes effect on March 28th of next year.
The news sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com at 6:34.
Every day starts the same way, and then it goes wherever it wants.
Life doesn't stop for Cardinals baseball. It just kind of runs alongside it. Dave Glover here from the Dave Glover Show. We're talking real life, real stuff, and yes, a lot of Cardinals along the way, because that's how fans actually live it. It's just like happy hour, man. We get together every day from 1 to 5. We have fun, we laugh, we commiserate, we complain. DGS 1 to 5.
The Dave Glover Show at 1, and then Cardinals baseball.
What has your candidate actually delivered in Clayton, Ladue, Olivet, and Warson Woods? There's just one Democrat running for state representative who can answer. That's Sidney Clark. As mayor, he's delivered more than $100 million in economic growth and some of the strongest home values in the region. Balanced budgets, steady leadership, a neighbor since 1973. And now Sidney Clark will protect what you've built, stopping costly data centers from hiking your utility bills, and voting no on Amendment 5, which actually increases taxes on everything you buy. No other candidate in this race can say it. Sidney Clark has already done the job, and he's ready from day one. Sidney Clark, results, not rhetoric. Democrat for State Representative District 99.
I'm Sidney Clark, and I approve of this message. Paid for by Sidney Clark for State Representative District 99. Tammy Clark, Treasurer.
It is 6:36, and you're listening to Total Information AM. In 4 minutes, we'll check the roadways and the weather, but right now, let's get you updated on your money report, sponsored by Eamon Gantner and Capriano Elder Law Attorneys.
This is the Bloomberg Money Minute. Apple briefly overtook NVIDIA as the world's most valuable company on Friday, a title the chipmaker has held since May 2025. Apple has recently benefited from investors rotating away from the big spenders on artificial intelligence. However, at the end of the day, NVIDIA came back out on top. This week, a number of major tech companies will be reporting their quarterly earnings results, including Google parent Alphabet, Intel, and Tesla. Stocks are kicking off the week looking at gains. S&P futures are rising 19 points, Dow futures gaining 115. And oil refiners in the U.S. have been running so hard for so long to capture record profits that they're increasingly vulnerable to equipment breakdowns. Nationwide, refiners have been running at or above full capacity for almost 2 months. Running at maximum rates increases wear and tear on equipment, and the potential knock-on effects could hit consumers already affected by high pump prices. Courtney Donahoe, Bloomberg Radio.
If you are thinking, what am I going to do to entertain these children? Because it's July 20th. They're probably climbing the walls. Take them to the library, St. Louis Public Library. Whether it's Central Library downtown, which is so absolutely gorgeous, or one of the 13 neighborhood branches, there's always something going on. And if you don't believe me, go to slpl.org and just look at their events calendar. They have stuff going on at every branch all across the city every day for all age groups. On top of that, They have their STL Summer Adventure, their partnership with St. Louis County Library, which guarantees to keep your kids reading and engaged and doing activities in your house, in the library, around town. So check that out. They have not just books, but all kinds of things that you can do at St. Louis Public Library that will save you money too, like audiobooks and magazines and newspapers and all kinds of things that you can access from your phone or your laptop. It's pretty amazing stuff. St. Louis Public Library has been around for more than a century, but they are as modern as can be. It's St. Louis's original search engine. It's St. Louis Public Library, slpl.org.
Let me tell you something about insurance. When you sign your insurance policy, for some brokers, that's the finish line. Handshake, commission, done. Then you may not hear from them again until it's time for renewal. But your business runs all year, so do the gaps and the risk. So go to supersure.com. If your company has more than 25 employees, whether you're the owner, CFO, or HR manager, it can be too complex to just go buy a policy online. Supersure is the super agency built for you, licensed in every state for your business insurance and employee benefits, all with year-round support for you and your team. At supersure.com, you can access tools like fine print facts. It'll translate your current policy into plain English so you see what's covered and what's not. Plus a business value calculator so you can estimate what your business is worth so you know what actually needs protecting. Go to supersure.com. One super agency, one powerful platform, all your policies in one place. Supersure.com. That's supersure.com. Paid for by Supersure Insurance Agency, LLC, a licensed insurance agency.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Hey, it's Glover. Right now, buy 4 windows and get 4 for free and 48 months with 0% interest, same as cash. 314-334-2522. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Get inside your Redbirds in the 2026 season every Tuesday at noon. It's All Access with Cardinals manager Ollie Marmol on your voice of the Cardinals, KMOX.
Well, Ollie says they've already talked about the blown 7-run lead yesterday, and they're moving on. You'll hear what he says to Chip Carey coming up in just 5 minutes. Right now, Roger Brand, Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, there's still no change on 270 right now, Tom. This traffic reports the service of Ricken Financial. That right lane is still blocked, northbound 270, just before you get to the Page overpass, so you can get off at Page and 364. The right lane's closed after the exit, so that's good news there. And there's barely a slowdown going past it. It's unfortunately a fatal crash that happened a little earlier this morning involving a car that went under the rear end of a trash truck. Other than that, so like I said, North 270 is pretty much wide open through there. South 270 is fine. Southbound 61 getting on to eastbound 70. That ramp's a little slow. And on the Illinois side, we have a little bit of a backup. Eastbound 64 from about 25th Street up to the 70 split. That ramp leading you on to westbound 70 is closed now for 64 drivers. The 5570 ramp's open, but only one lane of the ramp is open. But you can take 64 west across the Poplar and get onto 70 going past the Arch Grounds. Next update at 6:50 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Income is the outcome that matters the most in retirement. Join us for Kickin' with the Rickens, Redefining Retirement with Jerry Ricken and Heidi Ricken Provost every Saturday at 3 p.m. right here on KMOX, and get more at rickenfinancial.com.
It's going on 6:42, and let's check in with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Heather Zare. We have at least a couple more really hot days.
That we do. Today looks like we'll get up to about 95 degrees. So far, we have been looking at a pretty sunny start to the day. Our sun at this point is up above the horizon, has been for about an hour, and we're going to continue to have a lot of sun, more sun than clouds, although we do have also a chance for a thunderstorm as we go through this afternoon, although the majority of the time will be dry with that high of 95. Tonight, patchy clouds. It stays warm and very humid with a low of 79. And then we have a front that slips through the area tomorrow. And it looks like our thunderstorm chance will be during the morning. The rest of the day is partly sunny and hot. The humidity not quite as oppressive, but still around. We'll have a high of 93. Not as hot with the humidity coming down on Wednesday then. We'll have clouds and sun with a high of 84. Sun through some high clouds with a high temperature of 80 on Thursday, so kind of a cool day. And then we're back to seeing clouds, some rain, and thunder on Friday with a high that could stay in the 70s. 73 in St. Peter's right now, 72 in Florissant, 76 downtown at the Arch. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zayer on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Thank you, Heather. It's 6:43. Gulf countries are bracing for more attacks from Iran, and possibly the war with Tehran could have spread even wider. ABC's Stephen Portnoy in Washington on the new travel warning from the U.S. State Department.
It says U.S. diplomatic facilities, including those outside the Middle East, could be targeted, and that groups supportive of Iran could target Americans throughout the world. This is the first such warning from the State Department since March.
The Trump administration denying a report in the New York Times that federal agents have been told the FBI will no longer investigate confrontations involving immigration agencies. ABC's Karen Hua.
The Times reports agents were notified such cases would be instead handled by an agency called Homeland Security Investigations, which is an arm of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. This effectively leaves the agency to investigate itself. The FBI and Homeland Security deny there's been a policy change, saying this is false, adding the FBI will continue to investigate in accordance with agency policy.
Speaking to ABC's This Week on Sunday, Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner, the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, says he will not vote for Jay Clayton to be confirmed as Director of National Intelligence. Warner says although he likes Clayton and has known him for a long time, his responses to certain questions during this week's confirmation hearings gave him pause on giving his full support.
His inability to answer the question about who won the 2020 election or commenting on Gabbard's, the previous DNI's effort to interfere in the Fulton County elections. I am not going to vote for him.
It is 6:45.
All right, let's get into this from yesterday. It is the biggest comeback win in Arizona Diamondbacks history, and it came at the expense of the Cardinals.
What will he do here? 2-2. Here comes the pitch, and it's hit hard to right field. Backing up his Nootbaar, and it's over his head, and the winning run is going to score. Nootbaar couldn't make the play, and scoring from second is Barossa, and Arizona wins it 8-7.
Pretty bad. Cardinals were up 7-0 in the game after 5 innings. The Diamondbacks scored 3 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th. And then after getting blanked in the 9th by Luis Gastelum, they come back and score on him in the bottom of the 10th. In this game, Andre Palante gave up 3 runs as the starter. He went 5 1/3. Ryan Stanek gave up a run. George Soriano gave up a run. Gordon Graceffo gave up a 2-run homer by Nolan Arenado. And then that one off Gastelum, who went an inning and a third. Manager Ollie Marmol, visiting with Chip Carey after the game, says,
don't deserve to win that game in any way, to be quite honest with you. We did a nice job early of getting ahead. But the way that one unfolded, there's I can tell you one thing, there's a lot of learning opportunities in that one. It stings, it sucks. No one's more mad than me. But at the end of the day, we gave that one away. There's no reason to win it.
You guys have done a great job all year of compartmentalizing wins and losses. What do you say after this one to a group that's done that all year?
Yeah, it's super easy. We already talked about it, and you'll see in about 5 minutes that they'll move on to the next thing. Dwell on it for the time being. Take what you need out of it. Before you guys were let in here, they're already talking about some of the things that we felt like we gave away. So their ability to recap quickly and move on to the next thing is, at this point, part of our identity. We haven't done that very often. That game hasn't showed up this year where you just have a lead like that and you give it up. We didn't deserve to win it.
And that's one of the great things, I guess, about baseball is there is another game to turn this around tomorrow.
Yeah, but like I said, you do have to take certain things from it. You don't just brush it off and keep moving. You have to learn from it, and then you move on.
Ollie, thank you.
Cardinals still holding on to a final wild card spot in the National League. They're actually tied with the Marlins and the Pirates, who have moved into a tie for that last National League spot. The Marlins have lost 6 in a row, As the Cardinals move on, they'll take on the Angels tonight. We'll have that game for you right here on KMOX as the Cardinals take on John Mozeliak's Anaheim Angels. He is now the interim GM of that team. 9:10 is the start. It's a late one tonight right here on KMOX. Let's turn to KMOX senior golf editor Dan Reardon.
For the second time in a golf major this year, a lesser-known player found birdie magic on the closing 9 and collected his first major win. 39-year-old New Zealander Ryan Fox used the same script Aaron Rai used to win the PGA Championship in May to become the Open champion at Royal Birkdale. Fox birdied 4 of his last 6 holes, one-putted 7 of his last 8 greens, and rallied from 3 back to secure the win.
And as we've been talking about all morning, Spain winning the World Cup, scoring in the 106th minute. Ferran Torres gave his team a 1-0 win over defending champion Argentina in the World Cup final in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Spain was absolutely dominant in terms of possession and shot attempts. Lionel Messi and Argentina did not have a shot on goal the entire game. Found a way to hang on and force extra time, though. But in the opening moment of the second 15-minute period of extra time, Torres pounced on a bouncing ball in the box, used his left foot to bury a shot just under the crossbar and into the back of the net. Who's Hot, Who's Not? Sponsored by St. Louis Composting, growing gardens and making memories. St. Louis Composting, great company right here in St. Louis. 9 different locations to choose from. When it's summer, it's time to take a look at your garden, see how that's going. Compost is available. Your lawn, your surrounding areas, soil is available at St. Louis Composting. And, of course, mulch. They have many different kinds that you can choose from. Refresh your entire landscape with a fresh layer of mulch in your flower beds and around your trees. How's your mulch looking this time of year? It's St. Louis Composting, 9 retail locations all throughout the area, one right around the corner from you. Load up your truck or trailer on site or have it delivered. STLcompost.com. That's what we did. STLcompost.com. St. Louis Composting, growing gardens, making memories.
When pain starts to slow you down, BJC Healthcare and WashU Medicine orthopedic specialists are here to help. Nationally recognized leaders in orthopedics deliver care that's informed by research and personalized for you. From everyday aches to complex injuries and recovery, we're here to help you get back to doing what you love. Find an orthopedic specialist today. Visit bjc.org/orthopedics or call 314-362-9355.
Get ready for a night back with legendary hits and non-stop energy.
I got my first real 6
Brian Adams is bringing the Roll with a Punches tour to Enterprise Center Friday, July 24th.
Hello, this is Brian Adams.
Say along to the classics as Brian Adams delivers an unforgettable night of rock anthems. Plus, special guests Pat Benatar and Neil Girardo. Brian Adams, July 24th. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
Broadcasting from the Scott Credit Union Studio, 104.1 FM KMOX. Total Information AM. The news continues on 104.1 FM KMOX.
6:51, time for traffic and weather. Roger Brands in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, it's still not bad on North 270, Debbie. Just a little bit of a slowdown as you approach the Page 364 exit because the right lane is blocked just past that exit as they investigate an earlier unfortunate fatality crash from this morning where a car went under the rear end of a trash truck. North 270, other than that, like I said, it's just a little slow approaching Page. North 270, other than that, it's fine. South 270 through the area is still fine. Eastbound 30, some slow traffic from Mauer Industrial up the hill to 270 right now, but it's not jammed. And then on the Illinois side, we have this backup. Westbound 64, 25th Street up to the 70 split. Again, the ramp from westbound 64 onto westbound 70 is closed, and the 5570 ramp to continue onto westbound 70 is reduced down to 1 lane. These restrictions will be in place through September 3rd. 64 drivers can either take 5570 instead, or you can just stick with 64 across the Poplar and head on to eastbound 44, westbound 70 past the Arch Grounds. Next update at 6:58 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Sponsored by Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty 314-325-6888.
Need to sell your home and you want the most money? The name to remember is Gloria Lou. Yes, Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty at 314-325-6888 and start packing.
As for the weather, Heather Zaire says we're going to be humid today with an afternoon thunderstorm, high 95. Tonight, humid, low 79. Tomorrow, sunny and hot, high 93. 76 right now.
The news continues at 6:52. 9 people suffered gunshot wounds after a man opened fire early Sunday outside a pizza restaurant in downtown Tucson. ABC's Jim Ryan says it's thought to have started with a dispute between 2 groups.
It was around 2 o'clock in the morning when Anais Camacho watched an argument break out when one man lifted his shirt.
I said, he has a gun, and nobody moved.
She ran and the shooting started. Police were on scene almost immediately, ordering the suspect to drop his gun.
One of those officers discharged his department-issued firearm at that suspect, striking him.
Officer Frank Mago says that man is hospitalized, along with the 9 other people who were wounded. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Andrew and Tristan Tate, known online as the Tate brothers, were arrested Saturday evening in Miami. British prosecutors brought new charges of rape and sex trafficking against the controversial influencers, according to U.S. and U.K. authorities. ABC's Patrick Reeville on the Start Here podcast.
British police say that there are 7 alleged victims in the UK making these accusations of rape, abuse, assault, human trafficking. We have not spoken to these new women in these new charges that the UK has brought. But what's interesting is that British police, it appears, have gone back and looked into possible accusations against the Tates, dating back, they say, from 2010 to 2017.
Sorry, guys, when it comes to bad drivers, new research shows men are the worst.
Men were behind the wheel in nearly 80% of fatal crashes linked to aggressive or careless driving. That, according to a new analysis of federal crash data. It's a gap that researchers say reflects both bad driving habits and more risk-taking behavior. Rob Bott is an insurance analyst at LendingTree.
That kind of questions this notion that men like to think of themselves as good drivers, great drivers, and all these things. But, if you're involved in fatal crashes because of aggressive or careless driving, then that should really call into question how good of a driver you really are.
According to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, men drive more miles on average than women and are more likely to engage in risky driving behaviors such as speeding and impaired driving. The research also found that Gen Z, ages 18 to 27, and millennials, 28 to 43 years old, accounted for just shy of 60% of all fatal crashes.
That's Chris Sedens reporting.
I heard it's somebody's birthday.
Birthday excitement.
It's your birthday.
Happy birthday to our good friend, Cardinals broadcaster Benji Molina. We love Benji. Benji is 52 today.
The birthday shout out is sponsored by Renner Garage Door, RENNER, forward and back. Happy birthday wishes to Barbara Bates from the Life Group. Happy 53rd to Chris Schaefer. Sam Trice is celebrating today. So is Sveta Wunenberg from Mom and Dad. Chris Robbins from All Your Friends. And birthday wishes going out to Jera Schachner, Kathy Knowlton, and Jan Mihalik.
This is the best birthday ever.
I'm Tom Ackerman with this month's Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight. We are discussing bone cancer. July is Bone Cancer Awareness Month, and visiting with us is Dr. Angela Herbie, medical oncologist at Siteman Cancer Center. Dr. Herbie, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Treatment typically involves a combination of surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. So it's really important to have a team of specialized doctors, so surgeons, medical oncologists like myself, and radiation oncologists who are really familiar with these tumors. We know the outcomes are best when they're treated by specialists who see these tumors all the time. And we're very active in trying to move the needle forward. We have over 20 clinical trials for sarcoma patients, looking for treatments that work better, have fewer side effects, and also trying to develop ways to improve cancer detection.
Dr. Angela Herbie, thanks to Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. For more information, visit siteman.washu.edu.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Relive the magic of the 1904 World's Fair when the heartwarming hometown favorite Meet Me in St. Louis returns to the Muni stage August 6th through 13th, sponsored by Commerce Bank and Commerce Trust Company. Your seats are waiting at muni.org.
Man,
I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Here is Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, there's no change, Debbie, on northbound 270. That right lane still blocked just past the page 364 exit from the overnight fatality crash from earlier this morning, I guess I should say. Just a brief slowdown at that point. Otherwise, North 270 is in great shape. South 270 is not bothered by it. They're cruising on by. The only other delays on the highways are downtown. Westbound 64 from 25th Street up to the 70 split. Again, the ramp from westbound 64 to westbound 70 closed now until the first part of September. So you can either opt to get over to 5570. That ramp is open, but only one lane of it's open, or you can stick with 64 across the Poplar and get on to eastbound 44, westbound 70 past the Arch Grants. Next update is 710 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
We have 75 degrees, very humid, 87% humidity downtown at the Arch. I'm Tom Ackerman, and these are the stories making news.
I'm Sean Malone. While the public continues to await for the autopsy results of the child remains found in Illinois, what exactly goes into the process of identifying a victim as young as 2 years old? I've got this story coming up.
I'm Debbie Monterrey. Residents in Manchester will get to weigh in on a controversial proposal to transform an historic schoolhouse.
There appears to be a lot more questions than answers to the cyclospora outbreak. I'm Maria Aquino with the story.
This is AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Sayers. Sun and some clouds today. It'll be hot and humid. We also can't rule out an afternoon thunderstorm, high 95.
The latest on the Cardinals at 7:15.
The trusted voice of St. Louis. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The U.S. hitting Iran again overnight, the 9th straight night of new attacks. Iran launching strikes targeting American allies and facilities in the region. ABC's Louis Martinez covers the Pentagon.
Iran just had so many of these weapons already built, stored, some of them in underground facilities. And so they are demonstrating that even if they have a small capability, now we don't know what that capability number is, but they still have it. And so, yes, they can still attack and they can have an impact if they have really good intelligence of where these U.S. bases are specifically.
Some of the Iranian attacks turning deadly over the weekend. A total of 17 U.S. service members have died in the war with Iran since February. New prime minister in Britain this morning, Labour leader Andy Burnham taking over as Keir Starmer steps down. Jury selection begins today in Nashville in a new trial over Instagram, the state accusing the platform of being designed to be addictive and contributing to youth mental health crisis. This is ABC News. The Trump administration denying a New York Times report that says federal agents have been told the FBI will no longer investigate confrontations involving immigration agents. ABC's Karen Waugh has more.
The Times reports agents were notified such cases would be instead handled by an agency called Homeland Security Investigations, which is an arm of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. This effectively leaves the agency to investigate itself. The FBI and Homeland Security deny there's been a policy change, saying this is false, adding the FBI will continue to investigate in accordance with agency policy.
Lawyers for Pamela Smart, the former teacher serving a life prison sentence for orchestrating the murder of her husband by her teenage student, is petitioning for a new trial. Hers was the first trial in the nation to be broadcast live on TV from start to finish. She was convicted of first-degree murder in 1990. Her 15-year-old she was dating at the time served 25 years behind bars. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
It is 7:02. We've got sunshine and 74 degrees in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. The St. Clair County coroner continues to work toward identifying the child remains found in the Stuckey Township in the Metro East.
I spoke with St. Louis University Director of Forensic Science, Eric Hall, who says in a normal circumstance, there are a variety of ways to confirm the identity of a body. Hall says two means cover 99% of cases, a loved one IDing the victim visually or fingerprints.
So they would take fingerprints of the deceased and run them through the database to see if they match anybody who may be in there.
However, if the police theory holds true, these remains are related to a child who was kidnapped and killed 2 years ago, meaning decomposition would likely make it impossible to visually ID the victim, and a victim that young wouldn't have their fingerprints taken. This leaves IDing the child through DNA as their last option to see if it matches with the parents.
Right. If you had the mother and father, you could be pretty confident that if everything aligns, that is this individual, this their child.
The believed mother is alive. The father in police custody, held without bond, facing parental kidnapping charges. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
St. Louis. Oh, sorry.
The St. Clair County coroner says he hopes to have the results of his autopsy as early as later this week.
St. Louis homicide detectives are investigating the discovery of other skeletal remains. These were found Sunday night. Police were called to the 5500 block of Genevieve Friday afternoon. The cause of death and the gender is not known at this time.
Well, it's happened again. Another child has been shot. St. Louis police investigating the shooting of a 13-year-old. It happened Saturday night after 11.
That teen was in a car with his father at Broadway and Walnut. When they drove around another vehicle, words were exchanged between the driver before the suspect fired multiple shots. The father returned fire, then drove his son to the hospital where the son was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The father was not hurt.
Cyclospora, a parasite that causes extreme diarrhea. The FDA now says one sample of Taylor Farms lettuce had tested positive for the parasite, was a false positive, but the recall is still on. Over the weekend, Taylor expanded their recall.
The illness has been reported in at least 34 states. Dr. Kritika Kapali, Associate Professor of Department of Internal Medicine at UT Southwest Medical Center, tells ABC there is much concern with this outbreak.
We see cyclospora outbreaks almost every summer, but this one's different. It's much larger than most outbreaks. It's been detected in over 34 states. And most importantly, we still have not identified the contaminated food source. So we're unable to provide recommendations on how people may avoid getting sick.
We know some Taco Bell restaurants served contaminated iceberg lettuce, though not in Illinois or Missouri. But again, the exact source is just not known.
We're not sure all of the cases are related to this. And so we could be seeing multiple overlapping outbreaks. And so until we're able to get more information, it's really still unclear what's causing this.
Maria Aquino, KMOX News.
Schnucks has now filed details with the state about its plans to close a distribution center. Details from KMOX's Michael Calhoun.
The WARN Act filing Schnucks submitted to Missouri's Workforce Department does put some job titles on Friday's announcement that the warehouse is closing. Of the 64 jobs being cut at the Bridgeton facility, 57 are warehouse workers and 2 are engineers. Those are represented by Teamsters Local 688. That is the same union that waged a nearly 300-day boycott against Schnucks a decade ago over layoffs at that same building. One manager, one supervisor, one receiving clerk, and 2 inventory clerks round out the cuts. The facility closes March 28th, 2027, and the grocer says that everybody affected will get severance.
Residents in Manchester will get to weigh in on a controversial proposal to transform a historic schoolhouse.
Suntrip Automotive Group says it's working to preserve the 119-year-old building while adding a new auto repair facility, expanding parking, and putting in new amenities like a coffee bar and podcast studio. Neighbors argue the project doesn't belong in the city's federally recognized historic district, in part because it could increase traffic and change the neighborhood's look and feel. A public hearing is set for 7 p.m. tonight at the Manchester Justice Center and via teleconference. The proposal will still require approval of a special use permit before work can move forward. Ivy Lyons, KMOX News.
How are Missouri's newest teachers preparing for the start of school this fall? Schools in the Show Me State still face teacher shortages, but leaders with Teach for America say many young educators are still eager to enter the classroom looking for something beyond just a paycheck.
For a lot of us, we haven't been in an elementary classroom since we were an elementary school student, and knowing how to tell a group of 38-year-olds how to line up and do that effectively and efficiently is absolutely a skill. And that is best taught by someone who does that all day, every day. And so the person that's teaching them how to do that is somebody that does that as their job every day.
That's Executive Director of Teach for America, Missouri, Julie Gronquist, speaking with MissouriNet.
Teach for America pairs teachers with more experienced mentors through summer training, helping to build those practical and classroom management skills they need before the first bell rings in August.
They want purpose in their work, and community matters a lot to them. They want to do meaningful work, and they want to do it together.
It is 7:08. We'll take a break, and we'll have traffic and weather for you coming up next.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-day kitchen and bath. It's all about time.
Save time and money.
Do it now, don't wait till later. Call the top-notch renovator. It's about time.
3 days or less.
At 3-day kitchen and bath.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing on that Amendment 4?
You know, we fought for our freedom and rights. I'm not giving them away without a fight.
4 takes them?
That's exactly what 4 does. For over 100 years, Missouri voters have used our constitutional power to act when the politicians refused. I'll be darned if I'm voting to pass on less freedom and power to my kids.
It doesn't 4 kill majority rule?
Yep, creates minority rule, where just 5% of statewide voters in one district can block any citizen-led reform, making it nearly impossible to pass citizen-led ballot measures.
That's just dumb.
And when the politicians refuse to act, we've used citizen-led ballot measures to pass some big stuff, like lobbyist reforms, term limits for career politicians, and outlawing tax hikes without voter approval.
I'm not surrendering my power and rights to a bunch of politicians and lobbyists. I'm no on Amendment 4.
Hard no on 4.
Pay 4 buttons or inch, prepare governance.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts.
7:10 and time to check in with Roger Brand. He's in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, there's still no change on North 270, Debbie, from the earlier fatality crash. The investigation is still ongoing. Northbound 270 just past the Page 364 exit. Right lane still closed, but again, volume's light enough so far. We had a little slowdown earlier. It really doesn't look like it's slowing much at all getting through the area. And southbound is not impacted, so you're looking good both ways there. And looking good on 270 in general. Northbound coming up from the 55 ramp on, there are no issues so far. Out west, it still looks great as well. Southbound 61 on to eastbound 70, eastbound 64 coming out of St. Charles County. You're good to go. The only place seeing delays on the Illinois side is that slowdown we have westbound 64 right around Baugh Avenue onto the 70 split there. Now, again, if you normally take the ramp from westbound 64 to westbound 70, that ramp is now closed. They closed it last hour. It'll be closed till the first part of September. So your alternate is to come in onto 5570. One lane of the ramp is closed going on to westbound 70 from there, but the ramp is open from 5570 westbound. Or you can just stick with 64 and go across the Poplar and get onto the eastbound 44 westbound 70 ramp downtown that runs under the Arch Crown. So the choice is yours how you want to get around that restriction. Next update is 7:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Let's check in with AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare and get the latest on this humid weather.
AccuWeather, it's going to be sunny, hot, and humid today, but we can't rule out an afternoon thunderstorm, high 95. Warm and very humid tonight, low 79, then a morning thunderstorm followed by some sun tomorrow, high 93. The humidity comes down, so does the temperature on Wednesday, some sun, high 84. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Right now, that humidity at 83%, it's 74 degrees downtown.
It is 7:12. Hundreds gathered Sunday at Jones Park in East St. Louis to remember the family killed in a mass shooting last week. 7 members of the Thompson family were shot. 5 died. Quentin Thompson Sr. was there to honor his daughter, Shania, and son, Quentin. He calls last Sunday's shootings a tragic event, according to Fox 2.
2 teens have been charged with the killings. 16-year-old Jameer Davis and his 15-year-old girlfriend, who officials say plotted the murders of her family in social media posts read during their court hearing.
8 people were injured yesterday in a boat crash on the Merrimack River. This happened around 2 p.m. about 2 miles upstream from the Campbell Bridge when a boat hit a rock that was underwater and drifted into a bluff. That's according to the Sullivan Independent News. Out of the 8 injured, 4 were children. One of the adults suffered serious injuries, 2 others moderate injuries. The remaining adult and all 4 children received just minor injuries.
Average gas prices in the St. Louis region rose 13.2 cents per gallon in the last week. Prices today averaged $3.76 according to Gas Buddy. That's a little over 7 cents lower than a month ago, 75 cents higher than a year ago. Gas Buddy's head of petroleum analysis, Patrick DeHaan, says prices rose in nearly every state in the last week, and the average price per gallon nationally is expected to hit $4 again within the next 48 hours.
A public meeting taking place this afternoon in Ladue. It comes as residents continue to oppose the redevelopment of the former Rock Hill Quarry, which would be turned into more than 200 apartments, commercial space, and lots for single-family homes. The hearing will take place at 4 at Ladue Horton Watkins High School. Residents will be able to speak for up to 3 minutes.
Well, there's the big boys speaking. The world's largest operating steam locomotive chugged into St. Louis Saturday and Sunday. Union Station was one of the more than 50 whistle stops in 10 cities. It's part of a coast-to-coast celebration of America's 250th anniversary.
There were many disappointed train enthusiasts, however, when Union Pacific closed the display at 1 yesterday afternoon due to the excessive heat. If you did miss the big boy or you want another peek, he'll be heading west. So he'll be departing Union Station around 9:30. Next stop at 11:30 this morning in Pacific, then on to Herman.
This is Ricky Horton with your Redbird recap. Last night it was a tough one for the Cardinals as the Diamondbacks gave the Cardinals their best comeback victory in the history of the organization. The Redbirds had a 7-0 lead, but the Diamondbacks really just stormed back and scored 8 runs in the 6th inning on, including an inside-the-park home run by Geraldo Perdomo and a 2-run homer by Nolan Arenado, former Cardinal, who hit one in the 8th inning to tie the game. They ended up beating Luis Gastelum in extra innings en route to an 8-7 victory over the Cardinals. And the Diamondbacks won the series, and they are now 4-2 against the Cardinals in 2026. They have one more game together during the homestand. So the Cardinals drop it in Arizona. Tonight it'll be Kyle Leahy against Jose Soriano, and we hope you'll join us on the Cardinals Radio Network. This has been Ricky Horton with the Redbird Recap.
Oh, Ricky, it was a bad experience, no doubt about that. This, however, is very eye-opening. Here's Chaim Bloom, Cardinals president of baseball operations on Sports on a Sunday Morning yesterday, on prospect Brandon Clark, who hit 103 on the gun Saturday at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. How significant is that? There are only 2 pitchers in the history of the StatCast era from the left-hand side who have hit 103. One of them is Aroldis Chapman. The other is this Cardinals prospect, Brandon Clark. Did not escape me, speaking of getting my attention, that Brandon Clark hit 103, I do believe, yesterday. That is wild. Wasn't he? And he was wasn't he injured to start the year?
Yeah. So just this is a refresher for everybody. He was one of the players we got in the deal for Sonny. One of the most exciting, one of the most talented arms probably in the entire game, but obviously a prospect who's still an A-ball, still a work in progress. But in terms of the arm talent, in terms of the upside, it's as good as you're going to find. And I had to have a procedure this offseason to where it was going to set him back and eat up a chunk of his season. And obviously we were able to build him back from that, get him back to the point where he was working through a mountain progression, was able to pitch for us in the FCL, and then now made his full season debut as a Cardinal. And man, it was electric. I mean, this is why we went out and got this guy. Obviously there's a lot of work ahead of us in terms of building him up to his major league ceiling. But, I talked about when we got him, and you could see it if you were watching last night, just in terms of what's coming out of his hand, the stuff he's featuring, the angles he creates. It's as high a ceiling as we think there is in the minor league. So it's really exciting to see him back out there. I mean, he is a tremendous kid. He's an awesome worker throughout this procedure. Obviously has battled some of this health stuff throughout his career. So we're hopeful we can keep him on track.
Again, the name is Brandon Clark, the single-A pitching prospect for the Cardinals. Keep an eye on him. Full conversation with Chaim Bloom on our Sports on the Sunday Morning podcast page at KMOX.com. That cut of the game sponsored by the Diamond Shop, thediamondshop.net. Spain, they are celebrating their World Cup win, 1-0 over Argentina. They're on their way back to Madrid, where a huge celebration will get underway today, and a win for New Zealand.
For the second time in a golf major this year, a lesser-known player found birdie magic on the closing 9 and collected his first major win. 39-year-old New Zealander Ryan Fox used the same script Aaron Rai used to win the PGA Championship in May to become the Open champion at Royal Birkdale. Fox birdied 4 of his last 6 holes, one-putted 7 of his last 8 greens, and rallied from 3 back to secure the win. He followed up his 62 on Saturday with a 268 to finish 10 under, 1 ahead of Cameron Young. Young had posted at 9 under 2 hours before Fox stood over his closing birdie opportunity at 18.
Cameron Young will be one of those, and many of those you saw over the weekend at the BMW Championship in Belle Reve in just over a month from now, actually under a month from now. And congratulations to Fox on that win. I'm Tom Ackerman on the home of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Well, I'm sure you're aware, I guess you could all imagine, that not only are we busy, but other reputable companies are also just as busy, if not busier, and it's only going to get worse. So if I know this is tough, but if your system has not been keeping up with your house for just not this year, but last year, the year before, and even the year before that, if you want to quit doing it and just get it done, just call me, Bart Inman, and it's one easy number, the easiest of numbers that sometimes I forget. So write it down. 314-293-2600, Missouri and Illinois, or on the internet, BartInman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed, your property taxed, everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
Total Information AM on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
All right, it's 7:21, bright sunshine out there. It is going to be hot today. We'll have the forecast details coming up after we check in with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, so far, just a few slowdowns out there, Debbie. Not bad so far this Monday morning. On northbound 270, you've got some slow traffic approaching Big Bend up to about Doherty Ferry, and then it's still a little slow approaching Page. Again, that right lane is shut down from that earlier crash just past the Page 364 exit, so you can still get off there, but the right lane closed just means a little bit of a slowdown there. It's not terrible. And on the Illinois side, there's still a little bit of a slowdown. Westbound 64, Baugh Avenue, up to that 70 split. The ramp leading you from westbound 64 to westbound 70 is closed now. They closed it last hour. It'll be closed through early September, I think September 3rd. If you take westbound 5570 instead, that ramp is reduced to one lane, but the ramp is open. Just one lane of it is open. If you want to take 64 continuing across the Poplar, you can get on to eastbound 44 there, westbound 70 past the Arch Grounds and get around that restriction on the Illinois side. Next update at 7:30 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Celebrate the month of July with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $129. Get your air ducts cleaned for $599 per unit. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com and take advantage of the savings. That's ZeroResSTL.com.
Apparently, we've been discovered by a viewer on YouTube who says, wow, a channel that offers reality news instead of opinionated BS. Okay. Thank you, John. We appreciate that.
All right.
It is 7:22, and the weather today, humid, and an afternoon thunderstorm can't be ruled out, high 95, low 79 tonight, humidity. Tomorrow, a thunderstorm in the morning, otherwise partly sunny and still hot, high 93. It's 75 right now.
That news continues at 7:23. No excuse absentee voting for the August 4th primary starts tomorrow. Today at 10 a.m., local election directors will be discussing how it works and where voters can go to take advantage of shorter lines. The news conference is being held at the St. Louis County Election Headquarters in St. Anne.
Respect Missouri voters are speaking out against Amendment 4. Co-founder Benjamin Singer says his organization is working to make politicians respect the will of the people and protect majority rule.
Singer says Amendment 4 was written by politicians and backed by special interests.
It would permanently rig the rules for citizen-led constitutional amendments because it would allow a small minority of voters statewide to block measures that are supported by a majority of Missouri voters. Essentially, we would be giving away our power and handing it to politicians and the special interests who control them.
This is not the first time the will of the voters have been overturned in Missouri, but Singer says if Amendment 4 passes, it will make it more difficult for citizens to pass any amendments to have a check on government because it changes the current requirement, which is majority rule. KMOX has reached out to proponents of Amendment 4, but we did not hear back. Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
Early voting starts tomorrow in Missouri. Amendment 4 will be on the August 4th primary ballot.
Just last week, President Trump signed a proclamation granting regulatory relief from environmental regulations to some industries, including certain chemical manufacturers, saying they are vital to national defense.
And the president has said environmental policies should be balanced with national security. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin doesn't agree with Trump.
What's happening in America? Because it isn't just the wildfires in Canada or in the northern part of the United States that have led to this situation. It is also a situation where we've seen extreme weather events over and over and over again. We've had twice as many tornadoes this year in the state of Illinois than ever in history. We've seen extreme temperatures and extreme flooding. And when we ask the President of the United States what's going on, his answer is, it's a hoax. It's a hoax, he says.
Chicagoans were warned not to go outside unless absolutely necessary over the weekend because of the extremely poor air quality related to smoke from those Canadian wildfires. In the St. Louis region, we're expecting to receive some of that smoke from those fires.
Permanent daylight saving time is one step closer to being permanent. That's because the U.S. House passed it last week, but it's not clear if there's enough support in the Senate.
Sleep medicine specialist, neurologist, and co-chair of the Coalition for Permanent Standard Time, Dr. Karen Johnson, tells CNN this will be bad for everyone.
And that's why it's never worked before. The U.S. has tried permanent daylight savings time twice before, the last in 1974. It was supposed to go for 2 years, and it was repealed within a year because of how unpopular that dark winter was.
Last year, Dr. Johnson testified before a Senate committee on this, and she says some members of Congress hear the message, others do not.
Senators were still saying that the only harms to daylight savings time is the transitions itself. And we know that's not true. The medical and scientific communities have widespread come out endorsing permanent standard time as the only both feasible and safe way to end time change.
Missouri Congressman Wesley Bell is calling on his Republican colleagues to serve as a check on President Trump.
As a member of the Armed Services Committee and a new member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, it's important that we see this intelligence so that we understand these threats, so that we can not only advise, but also we can authorize resources, which is our job, by the way.
Bell's comments made to News Nation come following Central Command announcing unidentified remains were found at the location in Jordan where 2 U.S. service members were killed Friday and a third was reported missing. Sunday, CENTCOM reported another U.S. service member was killed in northern Iraq during a controlled detonation of an unexploded ordnance from a downed Iranian drone.
Missouri Republican Eric Schmidt and Minnesota Democrat Amy Klobuchar are on different sides of the aisle, but they're teaming up for a bill that targets Google's dominance in online searches. The Search Act would ban dominant search engines from paying distributors to make them the user's default choice, which is a practice that federal courts have already found violates antitrust law. Schmidt previously sued Google over its search monopoly when he was Missouri's attorney general.
727 Time Check, sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Laterman Law Firm, they treat your experience, they treat your plan like what it really is, a living, breathing plan. I'll explain. The big reason we've stayed with them all these years is that you can't put your estate planning documents in a drawer and forget about them. And that doesn't help your family when it matters most. And the Laterman Law Firm, what sets them apart is they don't treat estate planning like a one and done thing. It's a living, breathing plan. They build your plan to protect your family, your assets, and your wishes. And then for a fixed annual fee, they help keep it updated as your life changes, because your life is going to change. The law changes as well. And because of this, people don't realize how many plans out there are outdated until it's too late. That's why the Laterman Law Firm works for us, and it'll work for you. The annual process they offer to keep your plan up to date with changes over time, it'll give you real peace of mind. The Laterman Law Firm, latermanlaw.com, or call 314-514-9100. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. After 15 years and over 50,000 cancellations, I can tell you with confidence, we know how to get you out of your timeshare. Call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit guide absolutely free with all your options for cancellation. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-838-6767. 800-838-6767. 800-838-6767.
For the last 33 years, you've discovered that at Banner Construction, we pride ourselves on quality craftsmanship. We believe the single most important decision homeowners must make when considering an exterior restoration project is, who do you hire? At Banner, we provide well-engineered, meaningful, long-term solutions to transform your home into the pride of the neighborhood. Let us help you fall in love with your home all over again. Call 314-569-1050 or visit bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
It is now 7:30. We do have bright sunshine and 74 degrees right now in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. Let's get over to Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, there's still no change on North 270, Tom and Debbie. We just have normally heavy traffic right now, Doherty Ferry up to Manchester, and then just the briefest of slowdowns approaching page 364. Just past the page 364 exit, the right lane remains closed from an earlier morning crash that was unfortunately reported as a fatality. 64 both directions around the inner belt between 170 and Big Bend's a little slowing on the Illinois side. We still have this heavy slowdown westbound 64 from about 25th Street. There's a minor crash reported now just past Ball Avenue, in addition to the fact that westbound 64 ramp leading onto westbound 70 is now closed. The ramp from 5570 getting onto westbound 70 for the mutual veterans, one lane of that ramp is restricted. You can also take westbound 64 across the Poplar and get on to eastbound 44 or westbound 70 there once you get past the arch ground. So the choice is yours how you want to get around that ramp closure. Next update at 7:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
The weather for today is going to be sunny with some clouds, hot and humid. We could see an afternoon thunderstorm, a high of 95 degrees. Tomorrow, a thunderstorm in the morning, otherwise partly sunny and 93, but it cools off into the 80s for Wednesday and Thursday. It's 74 out there right now.
A man sentenced to life without parole for killing his teenage son showed no remorse at his sentencing Friday. 53-year-old Carl Walker Jr. admits he shot 16-year-old Isaiah Walker in January 2024, left his son lying dead on the side of the road, and didn't call police. He says it was self-defense and then went on to complain to the judge that his lawyer didn't do his job. The judge disagreed. Walker has 5 other children.
How much longer will it take to identify the remains of a child found in the Metro East nearly 2 weeks ago? That depends, according to Eric Hall, director of forensic science at St. Louis University. St. Louis police believe the remains belong to a child who was allegedly kidnapped in 2024 at the age of 2 and killed shortly thereafter.
Hall says the age of the victim likely eliminates fingerprint identification, while decomposition could delay DNA test results if the St. Clair County Coroner's Office doesn't have the right technology in-house.
If they feel as though they have the proper technology to do the DNA extraction on, say, bones. So some labs may be more comfortable with that.
However, with both parents of the suspected victim still alive, there is a high likelihood the DNA results will confirm if the remains are their child once it's extracted. The father remains held on a parental kidnapping charge without bond.
Local control of solar zoning is up for a vote in Madison County this November.
County board members overwhelmingly approved an advisory question that would return zoning authority over large commercial solar developments to local governments. The measure garnered support from Chairman Chris Slesser, who says state law has stripped counties of local control, leaving officials caught between state mandates and community concerns. The decision follows unanimous approval of a community solar project. Board members also approved 2 other advisory questions, one requiring government-issued voter identification in the state, and another covering comprehensive property tax reform. Ivy Lyons, KMOX News.
It's 7:34. This is KMOX, the news sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com.
When Cardinals fans want to talk baseball, they turn to the Gas House Gang. Tom Ackerman, Chris Ranji, Mike Claiborne, and Bernie Miklas bring insights, analysis, and opinions that fuel the conversation. And every Tuesday, Cardinals manager Ollie Marmol pulls back the curtain on his decisions and his team's performance. The Gas House Gang is the sports show sports fans can't miss. Hear it weekdays at noon on your home for the Cardinals. 104.1 FM, KMOX.
New Game Plus with Oxy makes your laundry smell incredible and fights stubborn smells, like the ones your dog Biscuit brought into your freshly made bed last night. But you washed that all away with Game, and now you're drifting asleep to the scent and sound of waves. Nope, that's the dog licking your ear.
Biscuit.
It just might be our greatest scent ever, now with odor fighting power. New Game Plus with Oxy.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It is 7:36. Thanks for tuning in to Total Information AM. I'm Debbie Monterrey along with Tom Ackerman. We'll get the latest from Roger Brand on the roads and Heather Zare on weather coming right up. But first, it's your money report sponsored by Make That Busey Bank.
This is the Bloomberg Money Minute.
The peptide market is booming, fueled by promises of weight loss, muscle gain, and a longer life. But much of the online trade bypasses clinical trials, regulators, and pharmacies. Banks and credit card networks often won't work with suppliers in that gray area because of the legal and regulatory risks. So a growing number will take only Bitcoin as payment. Peptide vendors received $32 million in crypto during the first quarter this year. Checking on the market, stocks are looking at a positive start to the week. Futures on the rise ahead of a busy week for earnings. Google parent Alphabet and Intel among the major tech companies reporting results this week. And if you're looking to stretch your grocery budget, where you shop matters. Restaurant Furniture Plus analyzed popular everyday items we pick up at the grocery store, from milk to bread, at 4 major retailers. And Kroger ranks first for value with its own in-house brand. A basket of 15 items costs $30. Courtney Donahoe, Bloomberg Radio.
This is the Let's Revitalize Our Neighborhoods commitment. This is the Roll Up Our Sleeves and Pitch In commitment. This is Busey, where our commitment to strengthen our communities is a top priority. Through energetic, engaged volunteers, through monetary support, community leadership, and advocacy. Because Busey is more than a bank that does well, we're a bank that does good. Busey Bank. Building business, growing wealth, since 1868. Member FDIC.
And Doug.
Hot dog! Get your hot dog!
Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Hey, what are you doing?
I like your method. Direct, to the point. A little loud, but...
Listen, people don't buy car insurance the same way they do hot dogs.
Not yet, but both are customizable.
Popcorn! Get your popcorn!
Hey, this is a hot dog area.
And customize and save area. Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local agent.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-720-8444. 314-720-8444. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-720-8444.
Your health story is shaped by more than genetics. Everyday choices like nutrition, physical activity, sleep, tobacco use, and routine screenings all play a role in your future health. Sightman Cancer Center's Your Disease Risk helps you understand how family history and lifestyle work together, offering personalized insights to support healthier decisions. Knowing your risks today can help protect your tomorrow. Visit sightman.washU.edu/YDR.
Giddy up! It's the Cardinal Cowboy. Don't let garage door problems bench your summer plans. From repairs, tune-ups, and replacements, Renner Garage Door hits a grand slam every time. Score a free repair or replacement quote today, plus $100 off a new garage door. Featuring trusted brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster, Renner delivers the quality, reliability, and performance your home can count on. RennerDoorSTL.com. Forward and back.
RENNER, RENNER.
Get inside your Redbirds and the 2026 season every Tuesday at noon. It's All Access with Cardinals manager Ollie Marmol on your voice of the Cardinals, KMOX.
Let's get over to Roger Brand, 740 Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, we still have our issue on 270, Tom. This traffic reports the service of the Sandberg Phoenix Law Firm, northbound 270. First of all, it's slow north of 44 all the way up to Manchester, and then it's slow both directions just before you get to the Page overpass. Northbound 270, the right lane is closed just past the Page 364 exit between there and the overpass due to an early morning unfortunate fatality crash. So there's short slowdowns both ways now there on 270. Eastbound 64 slow east of McKnight into Big Bend. South 170 delays south of Brentwood. Westbound 64 Clayton Skinker to Hanley is heavy. And on the Illinois side, westbound 64 approaching 25th Street up to the 70 split. Again, that ramp west 64 to west 70 is still closed. It will be closed into September. Next update is 7:50 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we're more than just a law firm. We're partners committed to you, your business, and your community. From family law to litigation, we're ready to serve. Visit sandbergphoenix.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
It's going on 7:42. We've got bright sunshine in downtown St. Louis. Let's check in with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Heather Zare.
And yeah, we really have been having some spectacular weather here this morning. A lot of sunshine, just a few higher clouds primarily around. And it looks like as we go through the day, that's mostly going to be the case. We're looking at a lot of sunshine and just a few clouds here and there. We can't completely rule out an afternoon thunderstorm, but it looks like most areas stay dry. And it is going to be hot and humid. We'll top out at 95 degrees. For this time of year, that's about 5 degrees above average. Tonight stays warm and very humid. We'll drop down to 79 with patchy clouds. And then a front moves toward the area tomorrow morning with a thunderstorm in some places. It'll be partly sunny and still hot for the rest of the day with a high of 93. The humidity not quite as high. And then as we head into Wednesday, the humidity comes down. So does the temperature. And we'll have dry weather with a mix of clouds and sun and a high of 84. High 80 then with sun through high clouds on Thursday. Our coolest day, though, is likely to be Friday. We have a chance for some rain and a thunderstorm with a high of 78. Right now, 75 in St. Peters, 76 in Florissant, and 77 downtown at the Arch. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Thank you, Heather. Sports coming up in 2 minutes at 7:43. A new death from Legionnaire's disease in New York City. ABC's Lucy Yang.
The deadly outbreak of Legionnaires claims 2 more lives, bringing the total number of deaths to 3, all on the Upper East Side. One of the victims, an 88-year-old Air Force veteran who was married for 50 years. We're told his wife found him feverish by an open window back on July 2nd. Despite 2 weeks in the ICU, he died on Friday. A total of 74 patients have been diagnosed with Legionella since this cluster was first reported. 8 of them remain hospitalized.
Despite the uptick in the death toll, New York City health officials said Sunday the spread of Legionnaire's disease in the city appears contained.
9 people suffered gunshot wounds after a man opened fire early Sunday outside a pizza restaurant in downtown Tucson. ABC's Jim Ryan says it's thought to have started with a dispute between 2 groups.
It was around 2 o'clock in the morning when Anais Camacho watched an argument break out when one man lifted his shirt.
I said, he has a gun, and nobody moved.
She ran and the shooting started. Police were on scene almost immediately, ordering the suspect to drop his gun.
One of those officers discharged his department-issued firearm at that suspect, striking him.
Officer Frank Mago says that man is hospitalized, along with the 9 other people who were wounded. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Also in the news this morning at 7:44, President Trump, who attended the World Cup after traveling to New Jersey, where Spain defeated Argentina 1-0, touted the success of the biggest show in soccer. He spoke to reporters at Joint Base Andrews as he returned to Washington.
We're really happy that it did so well. And all over the world, people have come and they've loved our country.
Alexi Lalas, former Herman Trophy winner, awarded here in St. Louis, appears here in St. Louis every year at the Herman Trophy banquet at the Missouri Athletic Club. A lead analyst on Fox says the better team won as Spain defeated Argentina.
I predicted as we came on air that this was going to be, like I said last night, 1-0 for Spain. Messi did not show up pretty much all game, and certainly in the first half. In a 1-0 victory that obviously was prolonged, this was a war of attrition. Credit to Spain for having the confidence and, most importantly, the patience. The depth that they have showed, the substitutions that they made, didn't have a problem not only making substitutions, but even at one point taking out what proved to be the player of the tournament in Rodri. That's an amazing thing to say.
Spain wins for the first time since 2010, and Argentina denied back-to-back World Cup titles. Would have been the first time since Brazil did it in 1962. Now to the Cardinals, who blew a golden chance to win a series yesterday. They were up 7-0 on the Diamondbacks and lost the ball game. They gave up 8 consecutive runs and lost it 8-7 in 10 innings. Ollie Marmol trying to explain things on the Cardinals TV broadcast. We also used it in our radio postgame with Chip Carey.
Don't deserve to win that game in any way, to be quite honest with you. We did a nice job early of getting ahead. But the way that one unfolded, there's I can tell you one thing, there's a lot of learning opportunities in that one. It stings, it sucks. No one's more mad than me. But at the end of the day, we gave that one away. There's no reason to win it.
You guys have done a great job all year of compartmentalizing wins and losses. What do you say after this one to a group that's done that all year?
Yeah, it's super easy. We already talked about it, and you'll see in about 5 minutes that they'll move on to the next thing. Dwell on it for the time being. Take what you need out of it. Before you guys were let in here, they're already talking about some of the things that we felt like we gave away. So their ability to recap quickly and move on to the next thing is, at this point, part of our identity. We haven't done that very often. That game hasn't showed up this year where you just have a lead like that and you give it up. We didn't deserve to win it.
And that's one of the great things, I guess, about baseball is there is another game to turn this around tomorrow.
Yeah, but like I said, you do have to take certain things from it. You don't just brush it off and keep moving. You have to learn from it, and then you move on.
Ollie, thank you.
Late one tonight for the Cardinals. They take on the Angels. We'll have it for you on KMOX at 9:10. Gas House Gang coming your way at noon. To golf.
It took 39 years for Ryan Fox to realize his professional dream and 11 feet to complete it. The New Zealander rolled in an 11-foot birdie putt on the 72nd hole at Royal Birkdale to win the Open Championship and the Claret Jug by 1 stroke over Cameron Young.
KMOX's Dan Reardon reporting. Our parlay of the day, sponsored by Circa Sports, sports betting the way it should be. I'll just say thank you to all who texted me and said thanks to me for suggesting Spain. The Spain team was, I thought, the best team out there, and they did win the World Cup. It's been a pretty good run on these parlays of the day, I would say, because we picked the Knicks to win the NBA title and Spain to win the World Cup. Have not decided yet on the World Series. My daughter asked me that last night. She said, okay, so you got the Knicks, you got Spain. Who wins the World Series? Go. And I said, if I had to pick one right now, pains me to say it because they're division rival, but I think the Brewers. I do. I think the Brewers would be my pick, but I'll review that a little bit later before I officially make that. Parlay of the day sponsored by Circa Sports. Sports betting the way it should be.
America is turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Missouri $250. For everyone in Missouri, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right in your account. This is available for everyone in Missouri, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
The soundtrack of classic rock is coming to Hollywood Casino Amphitheater August 6th. Leonard Skinner and Foreigner joining forces for one epic night of legendary hits and unforgettable memories. It's the Double Trouble Double Vision Tour. From Sweet Home, Alabama to cold as ice. Don't miss your chance to experience these two Rock and Roll Hall of Fame acts in one incredible show. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
Broadcasting from the Scott Credit Union Studio, 104.1 FM, KMOX. Total Information AM, Debbie Monterrey, Megan Lynch, Tom Ackerman on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
7:51. Here is Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Debbie, we're slow on North 270 now from Gravaway about midway up to 44. Then north of 44, there's heavy traffic up to Manchester through Clayton Road. And then a brief slowdown midway up from Olive to Page. Again, that right lane is blocked on North 270 just past the Page 364 exit because of an earlier crash. South 270 Gawkers are backed up through Dorset down to that point as well. There's more volume on southbound 170. Delays from Ladue down to 64. Eastbound 64, a little slow east of Clarkson. It's bogged down again. McKnight to Big Bend. Westbound 64, Hampton to Big Bend. That is heavy. And on the Illinois side, westbound 64 approaching 25th Street up through the 70 split, backed up through 3rd Street. Looks like we have a minor crash there. Delays northbound Telegraph, Christopher up through Herb, and northbound Lindbergh. Looks like we have those restrictions again and a backup from Robin up to Edian Park. Next update is 7:58 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
As for our weather forecast, Roger, it's July 20th. So as you can imagine, hot and humid. An afternoon thunderstorm can't be ruled out. High of 95, says Heather Zaire. Tonight, low 79. Tomorrow, high 93 with sunny and hot conditions. It's already up to 76 downtown.
It's 7:52. The Trump administration denying a report in the New York Times that says federal agents have been told that the FBI will no longer investigate confrontations involving immigration agencies. We get more from ABC's Karen Waugh.
The Times reports agents were notified such cases would be instead handled by an agency called Homeland Security Investigations, which is an arm of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. This effectively leaves the agency to investigate itself. The FBI and Homeland Security deny there's been a policy change, saying this is false, adding the FBI will continue to investigate in accordance with agency policy.
Also in the news this morning, the new audio of FBI agents speaking to the father and son suspects in the Forest Service kidnapping case in Northern California. This was Friday. ABC's Jacqueline Lee.
I have two biologists in my custody right now.
You're listening to the tense moments FBI special agents speak to two suspects who allegedly kidnapped U.S. Forest employees at gunpoint.
I'm requesting FBI investigators.
According to the U.S. Forest Service, two workers were conducting routine field operations when they were allegedly zip-tied and held at gunpoint inside a trailer. FBI's hostage rescue team, snipers, SWAT teams, and bomb units seen swarming the area. After 12 hours of negotiating, the two Forest Service workers were released.
Speaking to reporters, Sunday night, President Trump doubled down on his threat to impose tariffs on Canada over wildfire smoke.
I have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but, we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs.
President Trump returning to Washington after attending the World Cup final.
A new travel warning from the State Department blamed on the growing threat from Iran. ABC's Stephen Portnoy in Washington.
It says U.S. diplomatic facilities, including those outside the Middle East, could be targeted, and that groups supportive of Iran could target Americans throughout the world. This is the first such warning from the State Department since March.
The season's second tropical storm is developing off the Gulf Coast.
Her name will be Bertha, expected to come around the Gulf Coast, first affecting the Florida Gulf Coast, then heading west all the way out to Texas. The system is currently disorganized south of Panama City, Florida. The National Hurricane Center has issued a tropical storm watch for the Florida Panhandle. They worry about flash flooding later through Thursday in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
We'll check traffic next at 7:55.
Insurance companies often have a basic strategy: delay, deny, defend. Some try to grind you down, but they have another tremendous weapon, a software called Colossus. They know which attorneys are great and which are not so great. They know who is likely to take the last offer and who will take them by their scalp, kicking and screaming to trial. They know that they have to pay some firms early and fairly. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. The insurance companies have done their homework. Before you hire a lawyer for your injury case, do yours. Visit forthepeople.com and see our settlements and verdicts for cases like yours. We became the largest injury firm in the world for a reason. When you hire the wrong firm, you may be beat before you start. All law firms are not the same. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
You guys know Zero Res, the zero residue carpet cleaner that leaves your carpets truly clean with no dirt attracting soaps or harsh chemicals. Don't risk it with the other guys and skip the do-it-yourself disasters that leave your carpet soaked for days. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet zero resified starting at just $129. Call 314-474-2020 or you can book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Just ask for the DGS special at ZeroResSTL.com.
Here at 758 is Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Debbie, we still have a little bit of a slowdown on North 270 north of Gravois just for a brief duration. Then it's bogged down again north of Big Bend up to Manchester, a little busy at Clayton Road, and, of course, delays both directions on 270 between Olive and Page. The northbound run up past the Page 364 exit. Once you get past that, between there and the Page overpass, the right lane is closed from an earlier crash. South 270 Gawkers are jammed north of Dorset down into the area right now as well. If you're coming in on eastbound 64, slow stuff from Clarkson midway into Timberlake. It's backed up at night to Big Bend. South 170 delays at the Parkway. Westbound 64 Clayton Skinker out through Hanley's heavy. Still seeing the restrictions and backup traffic on northbound Lindbergh between Robin and Eddie and Park. Doesn't look as bad now as it did, but still delays. And westbound 64 on the Illinois side, a jam from 25th Street up through the 70 split. Again, the ramp west 64 to westbound 70 closed now into September. And westbound 64, a couple of slow spots west of there headed for the Poplar. Eastbound 64 at 158, you got roadwork slowdowns. Next update at 8:10 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
We have a humid day in front of us. It's 76 degrees in downtown St. Louis. I'm Tom Ackerman, and these are the stories coming up in the 8 o'clock hour.
I'm Sean Malone. While the public continues to await for the autopsy results of the child remains found in Illinois, what exactly goes into the process of identifying a victim as young as 2 years old? I've got this story coming up.
I'm Debbie Monterrey. A new spike in copper thefts. We get the latest from ABC's Jim Ryan.
What's hype and what's reality when it comes to testosterone supplements for men and women? We'll get answers from an expert.
This is AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zayer. Lots of sunshine, heat, and humidity today, but we can't rule out an afternoon thunderstorm, high 95.
News, talk, cards. KMOX AM St. Louis, KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Changing of the guard in London.
I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government.
Andy Burnham stepping in as Prime Minister as Keir Starmer steps out. The Pentagon identifying 2 soldiers killed last week as a part of the war with Iran. They are 25-year-old Tyler Feehan and 19-year-old Isabella Gonzalez, killed in a strike in Jordan. President Trump speaking as the U.S. hit Iran for the 9th night in a row.
Iran has been very, very badly damaged. They've lost everything almost militarily. They've got very little left. They've got some missiles. They've got some drones. They've got some manufacturing ability, not much.
Taylor Farm still recalling lettuce, despite word now that one test showing a parasitic bug that's made hundreds sick was a false positive. This is ABC News. 9 people injured in a Colorado nightclub shooting early this morning. Police working to develop information on the suspected gunman. Brothers and social media influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate now face a total of 59 charges in the UK, including multiple counts of sex assault and sex trafficking from multiple women.
And one of them, who we called Evie, to protect her identity because of threats and worries about abuse from Tate's fans. We spoke with her, and she described, in her words, was a very harrowing encounter with Andrew Tate. And this account that she gave, where she described being strangled by him while they were having sex, is one that has come up again in court documents and other accusations from now many women.
ABC's Patrick Reevell at the Foreign Desk. The Vice President and Second Lady welcoming a new baby to the family. Usha Vance giving birth to her 4th child this morning. They've introduced baby Alec on social media. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
At 8:02, we have sunny skies, 74 degrees downtown at the Arch. Today is Monday, July 20th. I'm Megan Lynch.
Washing the fresh produce under running water, that's going to be helpful, but important to understand that washing alone doesn't get rid of the parasite.
There are thousands of cyclospora cases in at least 34 states. The FDA now says the one sample of Taylor Farms lettuce that had tested positive for the parasite was a false positive, but the recall is still on. Usually by now, the CDC would be able to definitively say what is causing the illness. That's not the case.
Dr. Katika Kapali, Associate Professor of Department of Internal Medicine at UT Southwestern, says washing the produce alone does not kill the parasite, but cooking vegetables does. Kapali says one of the challenges in isolating this parasite is funding cuts and not enough people working in public health.
So we don't have the essential resources to try and investigate what's going on. And, at this point, there have been thousands of cases. And so we're trying to investigate a very large outbreak rather than detecting it and addressing it when it first started, where we would have been much more able to prevent it from spreading further.
The symptoms are much like food poisoning or the stomach flu, but it is not the same. If you develop symptoms like explosive diarrhea, contact your healthcare provider because there is a specific test that can determine if you have cyclospora. Maria Kina, KMOX News.
Now a follow-up on Schnucks' move to close one of its support facilities. Here's KMOX's Michael Calhoun.
Now we know the breakdown of the 64 jobs that are being cut when Schnucks closes its Bridgeton warehouse in March. The WARN Act notice filed with the state is out. It shows 57 of those positions are warehouse workers represented by Teamsters Local 688. That is the same union that boycotted Schnucks stores for nearly 300 days in 2016 over layoffs at that same facility. The remaining positions include supervisors, engineers, and inventory clerks. All employees will receive severance. The closure of the warehouse is permanent and takes effect on March 28th of next year.
St. Louis homicide detectives investigating the discovery of skeletal remains. Authorities reported Sunday night that police were called to the 5500 block of Genevieve Friday afternoon around 1:30. The cause of death and gender not known at this time. Another child has been shot in St. Louis. City police investigating the shooting of a 13-year-old that happened Saturday night after 11. The teen was in a car with his father at Broadway and Walnut when they drove around another vehicle. Words were exchanged between the drivers before the suspect fired multiple shots. The father then returned fire and drove his son to the hospital where he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The dad was not injured. A public hearing set for later today as Manchester considers a proposal some say would change the look and feel of the city's historic district.
Suntrup Automotive Group is seeking permission to redevelop the old schoolhouse on Henry Avenue in an effort to create a new mixed-use facility. If approved, the proposed building will include vehicle repair bays, expanded parking, and retail space, all as part of an effort to use and preserve the century-old building. Local homeowners in the area disagree with the plan, telling the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that it is incompatible with the surrounding historic neighborhood. They're urging city leaders to reject a proposed special use permit. The hearing gets underway this evening at 7 p.m. inside the Manchester Justice Center. City officials will take public comment before making their next move. Ivy Lyons, KMOX News.
As students prepare to head back to school, education leaders are sharing how best to support young learners. The answer, according to Teach for America Missouri's executive director, Julie Gronquist, is just reading together every day.
Just read to your kids every day. Actually sit down and read a book, talk about the pictures, laugh about the funny things that happen. It's such a great chance to bond with your kids. And in the state of Missouri, less than half of our kids are proficient in reading by the end of third grade. And there's so much research about the power of just sitting down and reading with your kids every day.
Gronquist tells MissouriNet technology also has an important place in education, but families and teachers need to balance screen time with FaceTime.
They have grown up with smartphones and tablets in front of them. And many of them are really smart about making choices about when that is a tool and when it's actually a hindrance. And so that's the approach that we take. When is using technology for themselves and for their students going to be a helpful tool? And when is it best to put that away and really lean on in-person interaction and relationships?
A public meeting taking place this afternoon in Ladue. It comes as residents continue to express their opposition to the redevelopment of the former Rock Hill Quarry, which would be turned into more than 200 apartments, a commercial space, and lots for single-family homes. The hearing will take place at 4 p.m. at Ladue Horton Watkins High School. Residents will be able to speak for up to 3 minutes. South St. Louis County's Chamber of Commerce is being revived. The chamber closed in 2021 amid the COVID-19 pandemic. It was folded into the Southwest Area Chamber of Commerce. The Business Journal reports that local entrepreneur Jim Shelby owns NextCore, which offers small business workspace and is set to open later this month at 11,820 Tesson Ferry Road in South County. It's now 8:07. Traffic and weather in 2 minutes.
And Doug. Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons, and lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen, and oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live, and you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing on that Amendment 4?
You know, we fought for our freedom and rights. I'm not giving them away without a fight.
4 takes them?
That's exactly what 4 does. For over 100 years, Missouri voters have used our constitutional power to act when the politicians refused. I'll be darned if I'm voting to pass on less freedom and power to my kids.
And doesn't 4 kill majority rule?
Yep, creates minority rule, where just 5% of statewide voters in one district can block any citizen-led reform, making it nearly impossible to pass citizen-led ballot measures.
That's just dumb.
And when the politicians refuse to act, we've used citizen-led ballot measures to pass some big stuff, like lobbyist reforms, term limits for career politicians, and outlawing tax hikes without voter approval.
I'm not surrendering my power and rights to a bunch of politicians and lobbyists. I'm no on Amendment 4.
Hard no on 4.
Pay 4 buttons every inch, prepare governance.
When pain starts to slow you down, BJC Healthcare and WashU Medicine orthopedic specialists are here to help. Nationally recognized leaders in orthopedics deliver care that's informed by research and personalized for you. From everyday aches to complex injuries and recovery, we're here to help you get back to doing what you love. Find an orthopedic specialist today. Visit bjc.org/orthopedics or call 314-362-9355.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Total Information AM on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
8:10. Let's check the status of the roads this morning with Roger Brand. He's in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, there's still no change on 270, Megan, in the Maryland Heights area from that early morning fatality crash. The right lane still closed north 270 just as you get past the page 364 exit, so you can exit and get off to where you normally need to get to. It's just the right lane closed between there and the page overpass itself. North 270 is bogged down about midway back to Olive. South 270 on the brakes, approaching 364 page past that scene. Other than that, North 270 is a little slow as well. Manchester up the Clayton Road overpass. Eastbound 64 east of Lindbergh, slow traffic into Big Bend. Westbound 64, those pretty well thinned out. We still have backed up traffic. Northbound Telegraph, Christopher up through Herb, and northbound Lindbergh, Robin up to Eddy and Park. You've still got the restrictions, delays there. On the Illinois side, it's better. There's still a little slowdown, though. Westbound 64, Baugh Avenue to the 70 split. Again, that ramp from westbound 64 to westbound 70 closed this morning during the 6 o'clock hour. It'll be closed into September, the first week of September. So just be advised, you can take 5570 in. That ramp's open, although one of the lanes on the ramp is closed, or you can stick with 64 across the Poplar and get on to eastbound 44, which leads you on to westbound 70 past the Arch Crowns downtown. Next update at 8:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Today will be sunny to partly cloudy, hot and humid, and we can't rule out an afternoon thunderstorm. Our high will be 95. Remaining partly cloudy, warm and very humid with a low of 79 tonight. And partly sunny and still hot tomorrow. Any thunderstorm will be during the morning, high 93. The humidity and the heat come down on Wednesday. Some sun, high 84. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zayer on 104.1 FM KMOX.
We have sunny skies this morning, 75 in Florissant, 76 in St. Peters, and 74 downtown at the Arch. You're listening to Total Information AM here on KMOX. I'm Megan Lynch. The St. Clair County coroner continues to work to identify the remains of a child found last week, believed to be related to a 2024 kidnapping. Sean Malone has more.
I spoke with St. Louis University Director of Forensic Science, Eric Hall, who says in a normal circumstance, there are a variety of ways to confirm the identity of bodily remains. Hall says 2 means cover 99% of cases. First, fingerprint ID.
So they would take fingerprints of the deceased and run them through the database to see if they match anybody who may be in there.
The second, a family member recognizes the body.
So having the family come in and do a visual ID of the body.
However, in this case, the remains belong to a child. The St. Louis City Police believe the victim is a 2-year-old who they think was kidnapped in mid-2024 and disposed in Stookie Township shortly thereafter. Hall says this complicates the typical methods.
Especially with the decomposition, probably both of those would be out.
One of the problems, the age of the victim.
If you have a young child, they're not going to have fingerprints in the system. I don't see really any reason why that would ever be the case.
The second issue, potentially 2 years of decomposition.
You have a decomposed body that basically eliminates a visual ID as well.
Hall says this means the St. Clair County coroner would likely need to go deeper into the quote-unquote forensics tool belt.
Most likely, what the investigator will be doing now is doing DNA analysis on the remains to see if they can get an ID that way.
However, Hall acknowledges with the victim believed to be only 2, it is highly unlikely his DNA is in any database. So what happens then?
If there is relatives, if there's biological mothers, fathers around and able to provide DNA, or even siblings, that could all provide linkages back to the baby and show, family identification.
Hall says if you have one parent, the child can still be identified.
If you only have one of the two, there will be a percentage given. And, it might be, 99.99%. Like it is going to be a pretty significant number. It's not going to be like 50%.
If you have both, the test is rock solid.
Right. If you had the mother and father, you could be pretty confident that if everything aligns, that is this individual, this their child.
The mother of the assumed victim is alive. The father is currently in police custody, held on parental kidnapping charges without bond.
So they're going to have free DNA for mom and dad. It's just a question of how good of DNA they get from those remains.
A very relevant question. The remains belong to a child who has potentially been decomposing for 2 years, found by police in a remote wooded area. But Hall says the technology of today gives him confidence.
I would expect them, to be able to get a pretty good DNA profile in all likelihood.
Not long ago, Hall says this would have been a different story.
20 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been able to get a DNA profile from this, or, at least definitely 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't be able to. So the technology is great, and, it allows us to get these things.
So how will the coroner obtain DNA off the remains to match it with the parents? In normal cases, bodily fluid is preferred.
Typically, when we're doing DNA on a body, we'd love to have blood, right? Some sort of fluid from the body.
Hall says bodily fluid may not be available in this case, which means the coroner will need to go another route depending on the extent of decomposition.
They could look at either organs, deep muscle tissue, things like that. If none of those things are present and it's just skeletal remains, then you would look at the bones themselves.
Hall says extracting DNA from bone can be a bit more challenging and requires equipment not all labs have.
If they feel as though they have the proper technology to do the DNA extraction on, say, bones. So some labs may be more comfortable with that.
If the local lab cannot, Hall says they will have to ship the bones to a more specialized crime lab. Hall says this could cause a delay in obtaining the results.
And maybe out of state, something like that could add significant time to the process.
It's been nearly 2 weeks since the child's remains were found with no results yet. I asked Hall, who has 12 years experience in the St. Louis City Crime Lab, if they ever feel the external pressure to get answers to the public.
You knew if something was going on. Obviously, you see the news clippings and things like this, but honestly, most of the cases that, you were working in the crime lab are homicides or sexual assaults or, missing persons or whatever they might be. So they all hold significance to the families involved.
Hall does say this process, even with today's technology, is far removed from the speediness shown on programs like CSI. St. Clair County Coroner's Office has told KMOX they hope to have the results of their autopsy as early as later this week. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
Thank you, Sean. Coming up, we're going to check the forecast here on Total Information AM. And if you're traveling north, even just to northern Illinois, you're likely to see hazy skies from Canadian wildfires. Health experts say the biggest risk, though, is what you can't see. AP correspondent Donna Warder has this special report.
Experts say the biggest risk from the haze and smoke from distant wildfires can cause short-term and chronic health problems. Courtney Howard is chair of the Global Climate and Health Alliance.
Wildfire smoke is the toxic products of combustion of whatever burned. So really, if there were trees, it's products of tree combustion. If there were houses, it's products of that. And so really, it's a big, giant toxic soup of particles and gases. What we measure most often in studies is PM 2.5, so particulate matter less than 2.5 microns. And the reason we keep track of that is that those particles are so small that they go all the way down into people's alveoli, and the teensy tiny ones can cross over into the bloodstream and lead to inflammatory cascades in people's blood. And so that's why the range of health impacts goes all the way from surface level things, so itchy eyes, headaches, coughing, to usually a day or two later in the emergency department, we start to see asthma exacerbations, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease exacerbations, and even heart attacks and cardiac arrest.
Millions of people in the Great Lakes, Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic states have had to muddle through days of unhealthy air from wildfires in Minnesota and Canada. Experts say on those days, try to stay inside. Luke Montrose is an environmental toxicologist at Colorado State University.
You do have the power to educate yourself and protect yourself to a certain extent. Just like the weather forecast is available on your phone, you can look at the outdoor smoke forecast. And I would also recommend, if you have the ability, jump online and look at these low-cost air quality monitors. They're very accessible now. You can start to look for ways to make changes, like air purification systems. Have a plan to have masks, N95 masks.
I'm Donna Warder.
8:19. Let's see how things are moving on the roads. Roger Brand has the latest from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, no change so far, Megan, on North 270. This traffic reports a service of Steve Butts and the entire Crawford Butts family. That right lane still closed northbound 270 just past the Page 364 exit. Traffic's bogged down about midway back to Ladue. South 270 is a little slow passing through the area. The ramp from South 270 on to eastbound 64 looks like there may be an incident. It's a little backed up there. Eastbound 64 east of Lindbergh into Big Bend, that's still heavy. South 170 just kind of slow at the U Club Tower. We still have these jams. Northbound Telegraph from Christopher up through about Baumgartner, northbound Lindbergh, Robin up to Eddy and Park. And on the Illinois side, a short delay, westbound 64 slow traffic, Ball Avenue to the 70 split. Again, that ramp west 64 to west 70 is now closed into the first week of September. As America celebrates its 250th anniversary, Steve Butts and everyone at Crawford Butts Insurance wish everyone a safe and joyful summer. Proudly serving the community for generations. Happy 250th, America. Next update at 8:30 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
We are expecting sun and a few clouds, hot and humid today, and we could see an afternoon thunderstorm, a high of 95 degrees today. For tonight, partly cloudy, warm, very humid with an overnight low of 79. And then tomorrow, a thunderstorm possible in the morning, Otherwise, partly sunny, still hot, a high of 93. Now by Wednesday, not as hot, lower humidity with a mix of clouds and sunshine, a high around 84 degrees. Currently, we have sunshine 75 in Florissant, 76 in St. Peters, and 74 downtown at the Arch.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's Tom Ackerman. Gamma Tree Experts goes back to 1954 when Frank Gamma started the business with a pickup truck and hand tools. Today, Frank's sons, Tim and Tom Gamma, carry the business on, and they do a marvelous job. They have an incredible team that will trim trees, that will look at damage and assess it and clean it out, that will do an assortment of treatments for trees that need it all throughout the St. Louis area. We have trees of all shapes, sizes, and types, and Gamma Tree Experts knows them all. Whether it's home, business, or municipal needs, Gamma Tree Experts can help your home, business, or municipality. It is Gamma Tree Experts, the genuine, the original. Go online at gammatree.com. You can read all about their services. Give them a call, have them come over and consult you. I can't recommend them enough. They are the tree company in St. Louis. They are Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care.
Hi, Margaret with Eamon Gantner and Capriano. We all procrastinate. We put things off, confident we'll have time later. Well, one who procrastinates in choosing will inevitably have their choices made for them by circumstance. Could be an illness or even a death. And it happened to me. I was widowed at 41. It could happen to you. If you procrastinate and fail to plan for your future, for your children, circumstances and the courts will make your plans for you without your input. Eamon Gantner and Capriano help thousands of families plan for their future now. We can be your personal attorney too, guiding you with a will, trust, powers of attorney, Medicaid, and VA. You may delay, but time does not. Eamon Gantner and Capriano, YourEstateMatters.com.
The choice of an attorney is an important decision and shouldn't be based solely on advertising.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
So much to love about summer, longer days, backyard barbecues. But if you've noticed your air conditioning running constantly or certain rooms just never seem to cool down, could be your windows. Right now with Universal Windows Direct, you buy 4 windows, you're going to get 4 windows for free. You're also going to get 48 months of 0% interest financing, same as cash, 4 full years to pay off those windows. 314-334-2522 or universalwindowsdirect.com.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance. And now we're customizing this ad for your morning commute to wake you up, which could help your driving. Science says that stimulating the brain increases alertness. So here's a pop quiz. How many months have 28 days? What gets wetter as it dries? What has keys but can't open locks? If you don't want to hear the answers, turn off this Liberty Mutual ad now. 12 months, a towel, piano. Enjoy being fully alert.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Around baseball, questions are being asked.
Why do they win so many one-run games? Why do they win games they shouldn't win?
Is this a rebuild, a reset, or something more?
You think this stuff would be happening?
A win? Burleson and Herrera developing fast enough to change everything in real time? Where the day ends, the real conversation begins.
Bernie Miklas, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler hanging out with you talking cards.
Redbird Rush Hour, weekdays at 5. This is Cardinals Talk. It doesn't flinch.
827, you're back with Total Information AM. I'm Megan Lynch. A third U.S. service member killed in the U.S.-Iran war Saturday as the conflict again escalates. Odyssey spoke with foreign policy expert Asha Castleberry Hernandez, who says the Iranians may be getting assistance from other countries.
There has been a lot of speculation or evidence in some cases where you've had China and Russia provide some sort of military support or security assistance, whether it's from grid coordinates to military capabilities coming from Russia. So I think that is continuously happening. And in fact, I'm not surprised again, because the United States, even before the Trump administration, has acknowledged there is a trilateral, multilateral relationship between China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea in terms of providing security assistance. So I think there's a likelihood that it will continue. China is a little bit questionable because after President Trump went to China, the Chinese supposedly agreed that they will not provide security assistance to Iran.
Castleberry Hernandez is a former senior advisor in President Biden's State Department. She was asked what the path to peace could look like.
I would say gradual. One reason is because the cast of characters are different. Right now, after the death of Khomeini, we're dealing with a hardliner group of people where I think it's going to be harder to, or more difficult to negotiate with, versus the Khomeini period or era, where that took about 2 years to achieve JCPOA. But now you're dealing with a group that is probably harder to negotiate with, which I think will take a lot longer, way longer than 2 years. So we're in a very difficult moment right now when it comes to Iran, and I would say more challenging compared to the previous leadership.
Castleberry Hernandez says she thinks Iran may want to prolong the war to the November election.
Yes, that is definitely a strategic interest of Iran to continue to push it out, especially as we get to the November elections. But there's also a risk to that, because in terms of their relationship with our regional allies and partners, or the Gulf region, it's really rattling their relationship more and more as they're engaging in this. Like, for instance, just recently, right after the attacks against military assets in Jordan, Iran was also engaging, hitting key areas in Bahrain and Kuwait and other areas. So, and that's really rattling the relationship with the GCC. In fact, the Secretary General of the GCC states condemned these recent attacks. So, yes, it could be in their strategic interest to push it out to November, but they're really deepening security challenges in the region with critical regional allies and partners like the Gulf states.
That's foreign policy expert Asha Castleberry Hernandez. It's now 8:29. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
8:30. Let's check the roads now with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Megan, we still have the brief delays on northbound 270. This traffic reports the service of Scott Credit Union because that right lane remains closed as you get past the page 364 exit between there and the overpass. The right lane's still shut down. Traffic is slow about midway back to Olive, not quite, but about to that point. Other than that, South 270 through that area is fine. Just South 270 ramping on to eastbound 64 still looks a little slow. Eastbound 64 east of Lindbergh into Big Bend's heavy. Westbound 64 Bellevue to Hanley, that's heavy. Northbound Telegraph Christopher up to Baumgartner still jammed. Lindbergh still has delays between Robin and Eddie and Park, and a little slow westbound 64 still right around Ball Avenue to the 70 split, and starting to see a roadwork back up on westbound 5570 from 255 through Black Lane. Next update at 8:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Love your low mortgage rate but need extra cash? Don't refinance. Get a Scott Credit Union home equity line of credit for home renovations or debt consolidation. Learn more at scu.org. Rates vary. Terms and conditions apply.
From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, we're looking for some sunshine, a few clouds, hot and humid today, and an afternoon thunderstorm possible, a high of 95. Partly cloudy, warm, humid again tonight with an overnight low of 79. Currently, we have sunny skies, 74 degrees downtown at the Arch. Thanks for listening to Total Information AM here on KMOX. I'm Megan Lynch. Copper again becoming a popular target for thieves. St. Paul, Minnesota's street lights have been hit, and in Pasadena, California, thieves are stripping AC units of copper. Joining me now on the Quiver River Electric Guest Line, ABC News national correspondent Jim Ryan. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, Megan. Yeah, it's a problem, and here's why. $6.33. That's the per pound price of copper right now in the spot market. That's up just 9 cents today. It has risen dramatically over the last year. That price has, partly because of the construction of big facilities like data centers. They use a lot of copper wiring for those places. AT&T is still the major purchaser of copper wire nationwide, although it's moving away from that, going toward fiber optics, which is supposed to be more thief resistant, certainly. There's not the profit motive to go with it. But it's also offering hefty rewards in Missouri specifically, $20,000 rewards that AT&T is offering for information that leads to the arrest of people stealing copper wire, Megan.
No, I mentioned the issues in St. Paul with the streetlights, Pasadena, California. Are you hearing about this in other places where these thefts are surging?
Absolutely. I just watched some body cam video a little while ago that came out of Seattle. Police driving along the West Seattle Bridge, and they see a man walking along in a work jacket, a reflective work jacket. In the middle of the night, he looks like a worker, and he's carrying spools of copper wire over his shoulder, about 100 feet of copper wire. Police questioned him. Turned out he'd been stealing those from the street lights alongside that bridge, creating a public safety hazard, of course, because the lights still haven't been fixed. He did about $100,000 worth of damage. In Tangipahoa Parish, Louisiana, another case there, they went without internet for about 8 days because someone stole the cables, the internet supply cables that had that whole neighborhood lit up. Now, many of those people are being forced to purchase Starlink satellites to get their internet via satellite.
All right, Jim, thanks for the heads up on that. And I guess people need to be aware, especially if there's some rewards out there.
Absolutely. And also increasingly states are monitoring this very carefully from the supply side. And in other words, making sure that scrap metal dealers are collecting information from people bringing in copper to ensure that it wasn't stolen.
All right. That is ABC's national correspondent, Jim Ryan. Jim, thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Megan.
Your money report is next.
Attention, all dog owners. If you have ever listened to the radio or TV for any length of time, you've probably heard of America's #1 dog supplement, Rough Greens. Greetings, naturopathy Dr. Dennis Black, Amazon best-selling author and founder of Rough Greens here. And if your dog suffers from bad breath, itchy skin, licking paws, joint pain, or low energy, the truth is their food is probably to blame. You see, all commercial dog food is dead food. That's why I created Rough Greens. One daily scoop gives your pup the live vitamins, omega oils, probiotics, and enzymes that will bring their food back to life. Don't believe me? Let your dog try it before you buy it. I'll send you a free Jumpstart trial bag, risk-free. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com. That's RUFFgreens.com. Use discount code NEWS. Don't wait. Give your dog the gift of vibrant health. Order now. It'll be at your house in a few days. Go to roughgreens.com. That's RUFFgreens.com. Discount code NEWS for your free Jumpstart trial bag today. Rough Green. We make any dog food better.
Your Money Report now. It's sponsored by Eamon Gattner and Capriano Elder Law Attorneys. Here's Bloomberg's Courtney Donahoe.
Anxiety is growing among data center operators that a new wave of projects could hit roadblocks, with local opposition building across the country. A survey from Alex Partners finds an increasingly grim view in the data center industry. Nearly 7 in 10 industry executives see these projects facing financial strain in the next 12 to 18 months. Rising energy costs, labor shortages, equipment delays, and tighter financing are also weighing on the outlook. It was a rough day for Netflix on Friday. Shares tumbled more than 7% after the streaming giant projected a second straight quarter of slowing sales growth. Netflix has dropped 46% in the past year as the company's pursuit of Warner Brothers Discovery and subsequent financial results have caused investors to worry it has lost momentum. Courtney Donahoe, Bloomberg Radio.
When it comes to your next outdoor project, make sure that one of the phone calls that you make is to Chesterfield Fence and Deck, because Chesterfield Fence and Deck is the sign you have the very best. That means quality products and quality installation that will last for years to come. So when you have them build something for you, you know it's not going to start falling apart after one season, which I know you've probably seen in your neighborhood. I have too. And if you mention me, Debbie Monterrey, Chesterfield Fence and Deck will offer you 48 months interest-free financing. That should help a lot. So if you're looking for fencing, they've got wood, vinyl, aluminum, chain link. And yes, they do decks, both wood and vinyl. And when it comes to that vinyl, they've got the Vecadec vinyl decking, which is the most popular. They've got all the new colors. They do sunrooms, screen rooms, retaining walls, 4-season rooms. You name it, they can just knock it out of the park when it comes to your outdoor space. So call Chesterfield Fence and Deck today. Stop by their beautiful warehouse and showroom in the Chesterfield Valley, or go online at chesterfieldfence.com. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign you have the very best.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-720-8444. 314-720-8444. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-720-8444.
For the last 33 years, you've discovered that at Banner Construction, we pride ourselves on quality craftsmanship. We believe the single most important decision homeowners must make when considering an exterior restoration project is, who do you hire? At Banner, we provide well-engineered, meaningful, long-term solutions to transform your home into the pride of the neighborhood. Let us help you fall in love with your home all over again. Call 314-569-1050 or visit bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
This is 104.1 FM KMOX. Here's what's happening. Ladue residents get a few minutes to voice their opinion this afternoon on the planned redevelopment of the former Rock Hill Quarry. The proposal for apartments, single-family homes, and commercial space has faced vocal opposition. U.S. gas prices jumped to an average of $4 a gallon again Monday as the U.S. and Iran launched more attacks. The average price a year ago, $3.14 a gallon. 8:40, time for a check of the roads with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, we still have our lane restriction on North 270, Megan. This traffic reports the service of Ricken Financial. So if you're headed up there, the right lane is closed, North 270, just past the page 364 exit. So it's kind of slow in that area still. If you're on eastbound 64, Lindbergh into Big Bend, that's still bogged down. Lindbergh northbound still have some delays around Eddy and Park. Northbound Telegraph from Christopher up past Baumgartner. That's a solid jam. And we have roadwork back up on westbound 5570, 255, most of the way into 111. And, of course, westbound 64, Ball Avenue to the 70 split is still slow because that ramp west 64 to westbound 70 is now closed through September 3rd. I'm Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Join Jerry Ricken and Heidi Ricken Provost for Kickin' with the Rickens, Redefining Retirement, every Saturday at 3 p.m. right here on KMOX. And get more, including the Kickin' with the Rickens podcast, when you visit rickenfinancial.com.
By Wednesday of this week, we're going to get a break from the humidity, but for today, it's still going to be sunny, hot, and humid. An afternoon thunderstorm possible as well. Expect a high of 95, partly cloudy, warm, humid tonight with a low of 79. A thunderstorm possible tomorrow morning, otherwise partly sunny, hot, a high of 93. And then Wednesday is when that humidity dips, a mix of clouds and sunshine with a high of 84. Right now, sunny skies, 74 downtown at the Arch. You're listening to Total Information AM on KMOX. I'm Megan Lynch. There's a lot of talk about testosterone these days, not just from members of the military. Both men and women are turning to testosterone supplements to boost energy and even libido. Let's talk about the hype and the reality of testosterone supplements for men and women. I'm joined on the Quiver River Electric Guest Line by Lucas Edwards, physician assistant with OSF Medical Group Primary Care in Godfrey. Lucas, thanks for your time this morning.
Hi, good morning, Megan.
Let's start out with some basics. What is testosterone's function in the body?
So, well, in men, it's the primary reproductive hormone. So it helps with developing our characteristics of being a male. Helps with our libido and energy levels. It's even has a function in like building muscle mass and helping with metabolism as well.
What about for women?
In women, it has a lot less of a role in some of those things, but it still has role in our moods and again the muscle production. That's kind of the still with metabolism as well, just less so on the sexual characteristics.
Lucas, when do most people, at what age might they see a natural decrease in the production of testosterone?
So in men, it peaks a little earlier than in women. It peaks in like early to mid 30s. Women tend to kind of keep their testosterone levels into their 40s, and then they start to decline after that. In women, I think it's a little bit more rapid. In men, it's a kind of a slower taper, but yeah.
When did we start seeing this greater demand for supplementing testosterone later in life?
Well, I think with a lot of things in medicine, sometimes things ebb and flow and gain popularity, but it does seem, especially in men. I get it all the time in clinic where men are interested in where they are with their testosterone levels, or they feel fatigued and tired and want to know where that is. I think, like I said, just kind of comes with the rise and fall in popularity.
What are the benefits of adding testosterone back?
So, it's important to note if you truly are deficient in testosterone, some of the benefits you'd get, for some men in particular, sexual dysfunction with ED issues and stuff, it can help with that and regain some of the sex drive that can diminish as we get older. Again, it regulates some of our mood. It can help with, your energy levels. And, a lot of, younger men too, they want to kind of, if they go to the gym a lot, they're trying to build muscle. It can help kind of stimulate that sort of muscle gain.
Now, you did say if you truly are, have a deficit of testosterone, how do you know? How is that tested?
So we test it with blood. Typically, all my patients, we like to get it in the morning, male or female, get it in the morning. Testosterone has a peaks and valleys throughout the day. So we like to check it in the morning, usually like the early morning hours, like maybe between 8 and 10 a.m., where it peaks. So we know that if you're low at the peak, then we know that you're low, 24/7. So, yeah, it's a simple blood test that you can do in the office, and results come pretty quickly after that.
Are there downsides to adding testosterone back to the body?
Yeah. So for one, it does carry an increased risk for developing blood clots. It can increase acne in men and women. It stimulates red blood cell production. So there are times where if people have a high hemoglobin or hematocrit in our blood, it can make that go too high, and that can be a dangerous thing as well. And also for young men, specifically, men that want to try to have a baby with their partner, it can also suppress like sperm production and affect your fertility.
What about, for women, if they decide they want to boost testosterone in their system, what effects could it have on women?
So primarily, again, that testosterone helps develop the sexual characteristics. So in females, and probably some of the unintended things that they would notice would be like increased body or facial hair, or even hair thinning or hair loss. Some women get like especially at high doses of testosterone, you can get the male pattern baldness. So some of those things you'd want to be looking out for.
What else do you feel like people really need to know or talk to their practitioners about if they're concerned that their testosterone levels may be low?
Mm-hmm. Well, like we said before with the blood test, I think I don't think starting testosterone without talking to at least your primary care provider is not advised. You should always start with a blood test. If you are truly low, that's when the benefits, you would see those if you were low. If you took it and you weren't actually low, you really wouldn't get as much of the benefits, and yet the downsides of the supplementation would still be there. So that's number one. And it's contraindicated in a lot of people with like prostate cancer for one, or breast cancer in women, and people that have congestive heart failure or severe sleep apnea that's not treated. And then, like we talked about before too, with young men that are trying to conceive, it's not indicated there.
Do you have to be careful then tapering off of it?
I mean, yes, because kind of like I was saying before, especially in men, it affects fertility and sperm production. When you take it, especially at high doses, it can sometimes even permanently affect your fertility. So, that's why, like in older men, a lot of times that they're on it continuously until the need's no longer there, because your body it suppresses the body's own ability to make testosterone when you take it exogenously.
All right. Well, Lucas, thank you so much for all the information. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. You guys have a great day.
You too. That is Lucas Edwards, physician assistant with OSF Medical Group Primary Care in Godfrey. Coming up on Total Information AM, we're going to talk about TV news. A lot of TV news stations are looking at ways to reinvent themselves to reach younger viewers. KMOX media expert Julie Smith joins me next.
For State Senate, I like Mike. Mike Deering knows what a hard day's work looks like because he's done it his whole life.
I like Mike. He's a dad. He knows what our families are up against.
Mike Deering's a businessman. He knows what red tape actually costs.
I like Mike because Mike Deering stands with President Trump. Secure the border, cut our taxes, put Missouri first.
I'm Mike Deering. Career politicians spend more and tax more while your family gets squeezed. I'll lower your taxes, keep your money in your pockets, and cut government waste so deep it'll make the politicians squeal.
Mike Deering, farmer, small business owner, dad, conservative. I like Mike.
I like Mike.
I like Mike.
For State Senate, I like Mike. Mike Deering. On Tuesday, August 4th, vote Republican Mike Deering for State Senate. Make common sense conservative leadership common again. Paid for by friends of Mike Deering. Megan Kaiser, Treasurer.
Hey, St. Louis, need to sell your home fast? The Gelman team with eXp Realty can make you an instant cash offer in just 24 hours. No showings, no repairs, no waiting. Visit thegelmanteam.com or give them a call at 314-336-1991.
Get ready for a night back with legendary hits and non-stop energy.
first real six
Brian Adams is bringing the Roll with a Bunches tour to Enterprise Center Friday, July 24th.
Hello, this is Brian Adams.
Say along to the classics as Brian Adams delivers an unforgettable night of rock anthems. Plus, special guests Pat Benatar and Neil Girardo. Brian Adams, July 24th. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
Broadcasting from the Scott Credit Union Studio, 104.1 FM KMOX.
Every Monday morning here on Total Information AM, we get insight from KMOX media expert Julie Smith. Today, we want to talk about TV news. Julie, studies show that young people aren't really watching TV news. They're going to other places like TikTok to get their information. We've talked about that before. And, the big question is, what's that mean for people in local TV news and how they survive? Tell us about an interesting project that's happening.
So Northeastern University has something called the Reinventing Local TV News Project. And my impression is that it's trying to help local TV news be on life support. Can you guess the average age of a local TV news viewer?
50 or 55?
67.
Oh, wow.
Right. So if I run a local TV news station, I need the younger people. So how do I reach the younger people? Because remember, they don't get information from appointment television, sitting down and watching any news. They get information from TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. So why? Why is that information so much more appealing to them? It's based on algorithms, so they get information that they're already interested in. It's short clips to cater to their attention spans. They use editing and music to make it kind of snazzy, right? It's more informal, and it's available all the time. So when traditional mainstream news sources try to sell trust, what Gen Z is wanting is authenticity and speed and accessibility. And so I think local TV news especially is going to have to pivot if they want to try to reach the younger crowd.
What does it say about the challenge of taking those social media messages, which I think TV news does really well, putting their video up, having their reporters on social media with that immediacy, but then how do you translate that into people turning the station on?
I think what you try to translate it to is people going to your website, because I think that the trend is more towards digital rather than over the air. Again, what's interesting too about Gen Z, and the New York Times ran an article about this not too long ago, they really prefer faces over brands. So they're more likely to believe an influencer that they followed for years because the face, they feel that parasocial relationship, they feel like they know this person and they trust this person. So they're going to believe that person on YouTube or TikTok more than they would from, say, a legacy media like the Washington Post or the New York Times. It's more personal and informal for them. And that is how you reach the younger crowd.
Is part of this then getting younger people on the air on TV stations that can relate to that younger audience?
I think that could help. But you'd want those younger people to also be online. One of the challenges, I think, is like with TikTok, especially that the currency on TikTok is immediacy. And with local television stations having staffing issues, right? They're laying off people. You would need almost one person whose sole job is to put content on TikTok. And that's really, really hard for stations to do.
Does it come down to how maybe TV stations reorganize our day and our staffing that we have to provide those opportunities to get out in the community and have those hits on social media?
Absolutely. I think that you and I grew up in an era where there was a schedule for when we received information. I'm going to date myself, but the Globe Democrat came in the morning and the Post-Dispatch came in the afternoon, right?
And you knew you could sit down at a certain time and watch that broadcast.
Right. And those days are gone, and it's more immediate, and it's certainly more constant now.
So how do you monetize it when you go on social media as a news organization?
Bring them to your website. try to get them to your website. That's why every website asks for notifications. They want to give you notifications to draw you to the website. So that's how they're going to have to make money in the future.
That is so hard on platforms, for example, like Instagram, that's so popular because you can't put those links in the normal ways that you would, for example, in X or Facebook.
Right. And how many times on Instagram does it say link in bio and you never go? You never go. But if I was running a local TV news station, I would focus on TikTok much more than Instagram for that reason.
I feel like our local TV stations do a great job getting out in the community and engaging with people face to face. Does that matter?
I think so. And actually, every study you see says that people trust their local television news much more than they trust any national news source. So local news has such a hold and such a responsibility to the community. We just really have to recognize the challenges they face in trying to reach those younger viewers.
All right. Julie Smith, KMOX media expert and author. Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
Tom Ackerman for my friend, the president of McKelvey Homes, Jim Brennan. I have known Jim for a long time, and I know how generous he is and how generous McKelvey Homes can be, giving $1,898 back every time they sell a home. Now, they settled on that number, $1,898, because that's the year they were founded. They are the oldest home builder in the state of Missouri. They give back to the St. Louis community for every home they sell. They're also known for quality and for taking care of you every step of the